Well, it's the first day of this new month. It also happens to be a Friday. So it's a double celebration, especially as you get to stay at home and we get to be here in the studio. So happy new month to you. And of course, happy Farmers Day as well. Today we celebrate our farmers. There's quite a lot we'll be looking at. But of course, we'll be serving you the news shortly, right after which will be followed by the news review. And guess who joins us? The NDC's parliamentary candidate-elect for South Pong, that constituency, Maxwell Lukuto. He is our guest. And then Mubarak Haruna will be telling us about what to expect over this weekend in the Ghana Premiership, as well as the premierships across Europe. We'll be giving you the scoop on all of that. Then we've got blunt thoughts for you, as we'd always do on a Friday morning. And I'll be sharing with you my thoughts on two crucial issues. Our import-export saga, together with the lithium conversation, our natural resources, and whether we're getting what we deserve as a people. I'll tell you more about that shortly. Well, it's also Farmers' Day. Today we celebrate the men and women who till the land to feed us. But the question is, how have we treated them over the years? We'll discuss how to enhance their livelihoods even as we celebrate them today. But also on our chopping board, we'll be veering into the political terrain. The governing New Patriotic Party is holding its elections in orphan constituencies this weekend. I'm talking about parliamentary level elections. Your election headquarters will cover it extensively, as we always do. Expect nothing but the best on that terrain. Then we've entered the last month of the year. The Yuletide is just around the corner. But the question is, you want to make it through, right? How do you stay fit nutritionally? How do you stay fit nutritionally? What do you ingest? What do you put into your body? Well, join our seasoned nutritionist on the show this morning as we get into the nitty-gritty, what you should know to ensure that you are in tip-top shape, health-wise, as we get ready to enter 2024. And as always, we'd love to hear from you. So guess what? In the course of the show, via the live stream, let's know what's on your mind. When we activate the phone lines at the tail end, we'd also love to hear from you. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. This is the AM Show. Do stay with us. We'll be right back with the news. Thank you for staying. Time to serve you the news. And on our first story, Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia says government has so far distributed a total of 100 million cedis to 3,000 beneficiaries under the U-Start program. This was revealed by the Vice President at the 2023 U-Start Grant Expo at the UPSA Auditorium yesterday. Dr. Bawumia says this is in fulfillment of the government's response to reduce unemployment. My colleague James Aveji has more in this report.
The U-Start initiative under the auspices of the Ghana Enterprise Agency is part of the government's agenda to train and support the youth in entrepreneurship and job creation. Since its piloting in 2021, the program has come under public criticism over allegations of corruption and favoritism. But speaking at the 2023 U-Start Grant Expo at the UPSA Auditorium in Accra, CEO of the Ghana Enterprise Agency, Kosi Iyankiayi, dismissed the assertions as untrue.
But I just want to also explain that the process we went through was very transparent. It was very important for us to bring on board quality assessors such as PricewaterhouseCoopers, bring on board BDS providers to ensure that every step of the way we're in alignment with what the World Bank funding was supposed to achieve.
Delivering the keynote address, Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia touted the Akufo-Addo government record in job creation. He revealed that the government has created some 2.1 million jobs over the last 7 years in office.
Our government over the last 7 years has created 2.1 million jobs. This is the highest number of jobs created by any government since the Fourth Republic, and probably since independence over this period. No government in the Fourth Republic has created this number of jobs in this period. Notwithstanding, and all of this is under very trying circumstances since 2020. And you can imagine if the global economic environment were benign, not facing all of these shocks, you can see that we would have even done more than the 2.1 million jobs that we have done.
He said the government has so far disbursed a total of 100 million Ghana cedis this year to support 3,000 beneficiaries of the You Start program.
I am happy to announce that the government of Ghana, through the Ghana Jobs and Skills Project and the Ghana Economic Transformation Project, will award grant support of almost 65 million Ghana cedis to 3,000 startups and MSMEs gathered here. With the total support to beneficiaries in 2023 alone, totaling 100 million Ghana cedis.
The Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has also noted that aside from the 100 billion cedis disbursement, government has applied for a separate $200 million assistance from the World Bank for another youth program.
Over 50,000 startup businesses and enterprises have received formal training, and we believe, I think in this budget actually, another 200 million cedis will be used to make sure that this program becomes the biggest employment program that we have seen. So we have You Start Jobs and Skills Project, and we have also applied to the World Bank for another youth program of about $200 million to make sure that this continues in earnest.
Meanwhile, Trade Minister Kate Diamond said his ministry is enacting a business regulatory reform bill to promote business transparency in the country.
The government, through my ministry, will enact the business regulatory reform bill, which will be enacted into law. The legislation is designed to promote the quality and transparency of the regulatory administration of the country by establishing a predictable regulatory environment and introducing a regulatory incentives tailored to the needs of your enterprises. We would aim to foster a business landscape that is not only conducive but propitious for growth and innovation.
The government is optimistic that the program will be expanded to train more entrepreneurs and businesses in the bid to reduce unemployment. James Aveji's report for Joy News.
Now, the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagman, is directing the Education Minister, Dr. Yao Educhum, to reverse the decision for first-year SHS students to resume school next Monday, barely a week after the school placement was released. The teacher unions have kicked against the decision, and there's pressure from Parliament for the managers of the educational sector to reverse course. We'll hear more from the Speaker shortly. First, listen to Ranking Member on the Education Committee, Peter Nochukoto's statement that it did not make sense for students to report to school on Monday.
African Examinations Council, that is WAEC, released the results of the 2023 Basic Education Certificate Examination, BECE. Consequently, yesterday, the Ministry of Education released placement of some of the successful candidates and directed that these students resume school on Monday, 4th December 2023. Mr. Speaker, parents are yet to get the required materials and items that they need to buy for their awards. Also, there are a lot of placements that need to be remedied because of the fact that some of the candidates have been placed in schools outside the regions they reside. Additionally, Mr. Speaker, a few weeks ago, teacher unions have requested that there was the need for the GES, that's the Ghana Education Service, to grant them enough time to rest at the end of this year. Truth be told, Mr. Speaker, that since the introduction of the double-track system in 2018, both teaching and non-teaching staff in the senior high schools have not taken any rest. This is seriously affecting their health. It is therefore necessary to allow them some rest during this break to the end of the year. Mr. Speaker, many of the students will be traveling from far to their various schools and will only have to go back home 2 weeks after resumption for the Christmas break. It is therefore only appropriate that to avoid the risks and dangers associated with traveling during that festive period, that GES should reconsider their decisions of making students report on Monday, the 4th of December, for the first week of January 2024, to enable parents prepare financially for their awards and also the teachers to take some rest. Finally, for the school authorities to fumigate the dormitories and other facilities in readiness to accept the first-year students.
In our next story, the Member of Parliament for North Tongue, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, has asked the GES and the Education Ministry to listen to the concerns shared by the teacher unions in the second cycle institutions.
Is so crucial, and I salute you, Mr. Speaker, for promptly admitting this statement. The Speaker, as we speak, all the teacher unions are up in arms. They are thoroughly, absolutely, and clearly, Mr. Speaker, opposed to this directive by the Minister responsible for education. In their own words, this directive is going to totally throw the academic calendar into disarray. There is going to be confusion, chaos, and they are not even psychologically prepared. They have not rested. I heard the teacher union say that they have not even rested and prepared adequately for this new academic year with the freshers who, Mr. Speaker, are still being placed. We are all receiving calls from constituents about the placements. The first batch was done only yesterday, and they are not done with the placements. There are still a number of students, a considerable number, who have not been placed, running into thousands from what we hear. And Mr. Speaker, the point must also be stressed that a good number of these secondary schools are far afield in other regions where these teenagers have never been to.
Well, on that same point, the Speaker appealed to the Education Minister to reverse course. The Speaker has directed that a public statement be released by Parliament directing that the Minister comply with the appeal and reschedule the resumption to January next year.
I want to, on your behalf, direct the Media Relations Department to issue a statement along this line immediately. The attention of Parliament has been drawn to the sudden directive of the Ministry of Education for the resumption of academic year coming Monday, 4th December 2023. the House calls on and urges the Minister of Education to reconsider the directive by the Ministry of Education to students and authorities, including teaching and non-teaching staff, to resume academic work on Monday, 4th December 2023. The House proposes for the consideration of the Ministry the first week of January 2023 for the resumption of academic work in these schools. The Minister of Education is directed to thereafter report to brief the House on Monday, 4th December 2023 on the matter. The House further calls on parents, teachers, non-teaching staff, and students to keep calm until the matter is resolved by the House. This should be the contents of the release.
Let's talk health now. The management and staff of the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital hit the streets of Kumasi on Thursday to mobilize public support for the renovation of the 70-year-old hospital. The Heal Cath initiative was launched by the Asantehene Otumfuose II. Now, with about 1,200 bed capacity, the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital, since its construction in 1955, has not seen any renovation work, thus impacting adversely the quality of inpatient care management. Management embarked on a grand walk on the principal streets of Kumasi to call on the citizenry to help in the renovation and modernization of the Cath Old G Block. Nanabuachi Adam has the rest of the story.
So as part of efforts to contribute and renovate the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital, the hospital management, including the CEO himself, Professor Ochiade Mensah, embarking on a health walk to signal citizens on the need to contribute to the hospital project, which is to renovate the 70-year-old Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital. The project is Heal Komfo-Anokye, a 70-year-old hospital which indeed needs renovation.
Number of people who are served by Komfo-Anokye. I told you the other time that we receive referrals from 12 out of the 16 regions in Ghana. And so that act by the king serves the 12 regions and beyond. We have people coming from Burkina Faso and the others. Presently, we have only 2 functioning dialysis machines at Komfo-Anokye, and the 2 machines are both working at fault. There have been instances when these 2 machines have broken down, and Komfo-Anokye as a teaching hospital has had to send patients to private facilities for dialysis to be done. I don't think that this should be happening in 2023 at a hospital like Komfo-Anokye. But I believe that it is not only the responsibility of government, it is also the responsibility of all of us to contribute our widow's mite towards retooling and ensuring that people who are unfortunate to have kidney diseases who require dialysis would have that service provided at Komfo-Anokye. And I believe that with this, it would be possible for us to look at the dialysis unit and properly equip the unit.
Then I believe that if you are receiving referrals from other regions, we are not looking at the Ashanti region alone, are we?
We are certainly not looking at even Ghana alone. We are looking at Ghana and beyond. Indeed, I have had calls from North America, I have had calls from Europe, I have had calls from almost everywhere. People gearing up, putting their acts together to ensure that they are able to contribute towards this cause.
Thank you very much.
Komfo-Anokye is the only teaching hospital that we have in Ashanti region. And it's not just Ashanti region. It's from the north to the south. You know, Komfo-Anokye is taking care of every referral from other regions. So we need to repair Komfo-Anokye and heal Komfo-Anokye so that we can get what we want to serve people. It's over $10 million, and we are praying we can get it. We are there. We wish every person will contribute even $2 or $1. You know, we will get it. Ghanaians, in both who are here and both who are offshore, they can contribute and then achieve what we want. This is what we have for Ashanti region, Northern and other regions. So
we are here to serve.
For Joy News, Nana Boachidan Kwayadum, Kumasi.
Now, leading radio stations in the Ashanti region, Love 99.5 FM and Inshira 104.5 FM, have set forth to heighten road safety awareness to reduce accidents during the Yuletide. The annual public service campaign is in collaboration with road safety authorities to reduce the rampancy of accidents. The annual Corporate Social Responsibility Initiative educates motorists, pedestrians, and the general public on safety measures to prevent road accidents. Here's a report by Clinton Yeboah.
The Love FM and Insure FM Road Safety Campaign is in partnership with the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, the National Road Safety Authority, and the Ghana Police Service. The Kumasi Road Traffic 2022 report disclosed that road traffic crashes in Kumasi rose from 1,255 to 1,550 between 2021 and 2022, representing a 24% increment. Drivers and other road users trooped to the VIP bus terminal station at Asafo to access education on road safety at the event launch.
DVLA is celebrating its 25th anniversary, and so we want to highlight that process. We know that the year is coming to an end, and accident also becomes prevalent, and so we also want to highlight this part so that drivers will be cautious as we approach the Christmas. We introduced the eye test by the certified optometrists. Before, it didn't used to be there. Sometimes there was debate, confusion, argument about our output of the results we do. So now the people who are certified are the ones who are doing the eye test, and so we know that there's no doubt about the vision or the results of the eye test that is coming.
Regional Head of Police, Motor, Transport and Traffic Directorate, Chief Superintendent Edu Boahin said enforcement will be heightened among road users and drivers.
See, road safety issues, as we are doing the education, the publicity is also one of the key. And then when we are also pack it with enforcement, then those who are not going to abide by the rule will be made, they will be compelled to comply with the road traffic regulations.
The Regional Director of the Road Safety Authority, Akwesi Boateng, is entreating entities to link with the media to heighten education.
Everybody needs to support the media because the media plays a very important role in ensuring safety for all road users, especially disseminating information on speeding, pedestrian safety and motorcycle usage. In a region like this, we have issues with speeding, as I said earlier, motorcycle safety and pedestrian safety. So through the media, we are very hopeful and confident that a lot of people get the message and understand the need to be safe on the highways in the region.
The event was climaxed with a free eye screening of Asafo VIP bus drivers by the DVLA. Reporting for Joy News, Clinton Yeboah.
And it's on that safety note that we cap off the news. But stay with us. The news review is up next shortly. Welcome back on the AM show. No, it's not a different show. It's the same show. We've just changed the outlook for you. We're about to serve you the news review, and we're doing something interesting today, especially because it is Farmers' Day. We're celebrating our farmers, and it's a holiday. So we're activating the phone lines to allow you to get interactive with us. Even as we talk about the stories online that we're going to be sharing with you, we'd love to hear from you on our farmers. One of the conversations we're going to be having this morning later on the show. Our farmers, whether over these decades since we instituted Farmers' Day, we've done justice to them. You can call me and share your thoughts on some of the other major issues. For example, the OSP, Kisie Jabing, and what he's been saying about the legal system hobbling his work. One of the matters I'm going to be talking about in my blunt thoughts today has to do with the Import-Export Bill. In other words, the restrictions bill and what it bodes for Ghana. I'll give you a proper breakdown of what the implications are. But we're inviting you Share your thoughts with us on the myriad matters of concern. It could even be something that is happening in your community, bad roads among others. Call us and let's share our thoughts, even as we get into the major stories. You know the number to call, but if you don't, here it is. 0302 211 691. 0302 211 691. Let's get to the stories now, and myjoyonline.com is where we're going to be starting from today. It has that story there. Kesia Jabing should have applied the law before calling a press conference. That's according to the Ghana Bar Association, and we'll bring you some details of that shortly. It's interesting, the things that sometimes get responded to by the Ghana Bar Association. And sometimes you would think of other things that there would be no responses to. But who are we? They are who they are, and we are who we are. So the story says, the Ghana Bar Association says the Office of the Special Prosecutor should have exhausted all the legal processes before resorting to the Court of Public Opinion when it disagreed with certain rulings of the court. According to the Public Relations Officer of the GBA, Xavier Kuje, the law allows individuals who do not agree with its rulings to appeal or apply for a review. Speaking on Newsnight on Joy FM, he explained that the special prosecutor, Kesia Jabing, had a legal background. He should have applied the law. That is the take there. But we have a first caller on the line. A very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Please, where are you calling from?
Papa, I'm calling from Ejisu.
Ejisu?
Yes, please.
Oh, it's good. I don't think we've heard from you before, Papa Him, have we?
Yes. This is my first time calling into your program.
Thank you so much for calling. What are your thoughts for us this morning?
Yeah, I want to comment on the Farmers' Day.
Right.
This has been the decline of the agricultural sector in this country. Pardon me for my choice of words, but it looks like the gold rush, or as I put it, the gold creed, is having dark consequences on the future of agriculture in this country.
Okay.
I come from a place in the western region called Asankragua.
Okay.
Asankragua is a typical farming community. Elsewhere, we used to be the food basket of the region. Today, if you go to Asankragua, cassava, plantain, vegetables are imported from Kumasi. Hitherto, people from Kumasi come to Asankragua, buy those foodstuffs and bring them to Kumasi for sale. Now, foodstuffs are being imported from Kumasi. I can tell you, a tuber of cassava is more expensive in Asankragua than in Accra. A place which...
You're kidding me. You're telling me in Asankragua, that community, it's a rural community, you farm there. You're telling me things are more expensive there than in Accra.
And I'm telling you today that a tuber of cassava is more expensive in Asankragua than in Kumasi and in Accra. In Asankragua today, the surrounding villages have to come to the central market in Asankragua, buy foodstuffs and take it to the villages. The villages now have to buy sachet water. When I was a kid, we used to go to the farm. We drank the stream, and it was very refreshing. Today, the gold craze has destroyed all our river bodies. And so, people in the villages who used to depend on these river bodies now have to resort to sachet water. They come, people in the villages come to Asankragua, buy foodstuffs, and take it to the village. Because all the land has been desecrated by ecological vampires.
So you're referencing Galamsey, right? You're referencing Galamsey.
They are ecological vampires. Their insatiable greed for money has resulted in destroying all our arable lands for agriculture. And so the future is bleak. Today we are going to celebrate farmers. Maybe in the next 10 years, you will not be celebrating them again. Because we are taking down, they are desecrating our water bodies, they are desecrating our rivers, they are desecrating the arable lands that we use for agriculture. Everything is being desecrated. And we are looking unconcerned. So please, if you want to celebrate farmers today, let's safeguard agriculture. Let's put in stringent measures that will safeguard our lands for agricultural purposes. And not for what we are doing today. Today, go to Asankregwa and see. In the middle of the town, Galamsey operation is going on. Just behind somebody's building, there's Galamsey operation going on there. People don't have opportunity now to even do backyard gardens.
Wow. Papa Ahin, well, Yedibesiha, thank you so much for reaching out to us from Ejisu and sharing the story of Asankregwa. I mean, I have not been in Asankregwa. I mean, I don't even remember the last time I went into that part of the country. But I know what it is. I know it's a rural community, a farming community. And for him to say this, that this is the state of affairs, is indeed heartbreaking. We celebrate farmers, but like he said, maybe a time will come when there will be nothing to celebrate, no farmer to celebrate because of the desecration, not my words, his, that we're bringing to the land. But going back to the story, right before we move on and do something from the LI, something I'll be expanding on today, that story also says, well, the position we, that is the GBA, I'm talking about the OSP saga, have is that his approach, that is Kisia Jabeng's approach, is not the most appropriate. He is a seasoned lawyer. He has gone to court and the court of first instance had delivered its decision, not in his favor. But then the point is, you say he should go to the courts, the same courts that he feels aggrieved against. You see how it is? Yes, I understand. That is the last resort. He will have to go to the courts. But it's the same courts that he feels aggrieved against. So it's like a catch-22 situation. You want him to go back to the very place that he is, not content with. And interestingly, some reactions on that story. Amansan Katachie says, is the PRO happy of the actions of the judges towards the OSP in fighting against corruption? Are the judges, well, I can't read the rest of it. And he says, posterity will judge us all. Mr. Kuja and GBA, the OSP is a nationalist. Let him use all means. This one is from Shaibu. To protect the Ghanaian treasury from the dangerous cancer called corruption, destroying the Ghanaian society to the extent that it is not unlawful to use a press conference to explain to Ghanaians the challenges facing the OSP. And tied to that story, interestingly, you would see Martin Kpebu, himself a lawyer, saying Kisia Jabeng shouldn't resign because he's frustrated. We frustrated Martin Amidu. Now Kisia Jabeng is also frustrated. Dumelo, Daniel Yao Dumelo, the former Auditor General, says the special prosecutor's lamentation does not augur well for the judiciary's image. And in fact, Kisia Jabeng himself, the OSP, has said that the courts are treating him and his office with hasty dismissiveness and no regard. So I keep asking sometimes. I say that this office we set up, did we go or did we come? Did we really need it? We like duplicating stuff. Oh, we've created this office. We're starting a new drive to create employment. And the old ones we're not even using. We have Osman on the line. Hello, Osman. Good morning.
Good morning.
Where are you calling from, Osman?
I'm calling from Asankregwa.
Oh, it's Osman from Asankregwa. So that's interesting. I believe you heard Papa Ahin a short while ago talking about Asankregwa. Is that the real state of affairs?
Well, there's an iota of truth in what he said.
Osman, I'd appreciate it. I know it's early morning, but if you could speak up for me so we can all hear you, I'd be very grateful.
Yes, I did hear him, but I think what he said, there is an iota of truth in it.
Okay.
Yes.
There is some truth in it.
Yes.
Which part of Asankregwa specifically are you in, Osman? And what is the situation in that specific place?
Well, this area is a Galamsey area, and most people are engaged in the activity. Understand? Most people are engaged in the activity. But for me, what I call to have my take on is the agriculture aspect. Normally, as we celebrate what we call Farmers' Day today, I completed school somewhere around 2017. I had a very much interest in agriculture, and specifically animal and then cattle raising.
Right. Animal husbandry.
Yes. I went into that sector. Started with some few cattle, to see how life goes on. But you see, sometimes getting access to some specific drugs and what you call it, assistance from the government becomes very difficult. It becomes very difficult, especially with this veterinary aspect.
Right.
Normally, you can easily. There was a time somewhere around 2000, I had an outbreak in my farm. I had about 20 cattle, and I lost almost all the cattle. I think I lost about 16 cattle. Every day I will lose one. Every day I will lose one. You call this veterinary, he comes, and there wouldn't be any changes in the farm.
So Osman, on the back of what you're telling me, just so we can have you share your thoughts properly and also bring other people in, when you look at the state of agriculture, and that includes animal husbandry, what you've been in, do you think we're making progress? Are we static or are we retrogressing? What do you see?
At all. We are not making any progress at all.
We're not making any progress.
Any progress at all. We are not making progress because if you don't have access to these, what do you call it, these veterinary doctors, sometimes they come to your farm, they just guess. They will even take samples to go to labs and check what is really the problem. And you keep on losing all your investments. And these investments that you are losing, it's not as if government is coming to support you. The government is not coming to support you. As a student, somebody who has just completed university, try to gather some small from my national service to acquire land and then buy cattle. And all of a sudden, I have to lose all these investments. And you see, so sometimes it becomes frustrating. And these things that we are doing, it's not like we are doing it for ourselves. Even though we are doing it for ourselves, the country also benefits.
The country benefits. Yeah.
Yes.
Osman, thank you. Thank you so much for calling in and sharing your thoughts. It's crucial what you're talking about because one of the items, and we'll get to that story shortly, the LI restricting importation of products unnecessary, that's an economist. We'll get to that story focusing on the import restrictions LI or bill, right? And one of the items in there, today when I share with you my blunt thoughts, you would see poultry production, okay? He is talking about cattle. A lot of the cattle we consume in Ghana, we get from neighboring countries. And in Nkrumah's time, there was a meat processing factory. There were plans to create that sustainability, self-sufficiency in that. We never got there, thanks to the selfish people who led the coup d'etat that has left us all in the lurch, and some of whom, generations to come, are trying to foist other things on us. But the point being that we get our meat products from around us. What is the local content and how much more can we produce? At a point, our self-sufficiency in poultry was pretty high. I keep going back to Akoko Dako Farms and others. Look at us today. If today you stay with me for the blunt thoughts, and I share with you, if you look at the disparities between our consumption and the importation and then the real production when it comes to poultry, you'll be shocked. And there he is, Osman, engaging in cattle rearing. Can you imagine? Because we don't have those swathes of land that maybe a country like Brazil or Argentina would have. And these are high producers of cattle. That's where a lot of the corned beef you have, some of it, a chunk of it comes from Argentina. Okay? People like that, if we had even 500 of such people across the country, do you know what this would do for our meat consumption in the country? But no. And yet we'll be putting LI upon LI. It's not the LIs that will solve the problem. It's the implementation of the policies. Let's get into that other story, though, because on My Joy Online, LI restricting importation of products unnecessary. That's according to an economist. It's a crucial issue I want to bring up. An economist, Professor Ebo Turkson, has expressed strong reservations about the Trade and Industry Ministry's proposed legislative instrument on export and import, particularly emphasizing concerns regarding the restriction of selected strategic products. Now, speaking on Joy News' PM Express, the economist questioned the rationale behind the policy, drawing a historical parallel where, during the era of Ghana's first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's import substitution industrialization, where import restrictions were implemented and failed. According to Professor Turkson, such policies should be accompanied by robust support for domestic firms to enhance their capacity. And I'll just end with this quote. It is totally unnecessary. It should not be a policy that should be supported at all. As for import restrictions, it's okay. We need to make sure that we domesticate our consumption, but this has to be data-driven, he said. And that is the point. That is the crucial point as far as it comes to when it comes to this bit. It's not about saying we don't need it. Over time, as a country, we have to have some food self-sufficiency in many strata of our national lives, like even the clothes we put on our skins and all of that. If you watch videos from the Nkrumah era, we dressed differently. Yes, we still had the suits and everything, but our dressing was different. Today it has changed because of a mindset change, because of some, acquired taste, if you like. We have to get there at some point, but you don't just jump from A to Z. It must be gradual. And you must put in place the necessary measures. So Osman is in Asankragwa. His cattle have died, 16 out of 20, no support. Yet you think as a nation you can beef up your beef consumption, for example, and or production to match up the need. You're dreaming. It's a pipe dream. But that's how we usually like to go about policy. Oh, we'll do this. And then sometimes we go ahead of ourselves. We put the cart before the horse. And then later, when the consequences hit, it is the ordinary man who has to bear the burden again. Where's the thinking? The paucity of thinking is what is complicating matters. But I'll save more of that for my blunt thoughts, which I'll share with you later. If we can, maybe we can go to another portal. Maybe we can get to the Daily Graphic portal and see what is there. Okay, so that's Graphic Online. Let's check out what stories they have. Ayiko to our farmers. We salute our farmers, of course, and we celebrate them on this momentous day. Then there is also this bit about since 1993. I'll look at that story. Parliament has never resorted to division in making, and of course that has to do with the bit about the LI. So let's quickly get into that story. Let's get the details of that. That's the majority to Speaker. So the majority side in Parliament has stated that since 1993, Parliament has never resorted to a division in making decisions. I was therefore wondering why the Speaker, Alban S.K. Bagman, on Wednesday decided to resort to a division in making a decision on the 2024 budget statement and economic policy. To them, there was no such application to make the decision by resorting to a division, and that the application, which was raised by Emmanuel Kofi Amabua on account of Order 1132, was a result of the challenge where he called for a headcount. Now, there was no call for a decision by division, and that it was the Speaker who opted to go by that route. To them, they are insisting that until the appeal for a headcount is dealt with, not the division that the Speaker had called last Wednesday, the 2024 budget statement and economic policy has been approved per what transpired in Parliament last Wednesday. And that is the latest from there. This country never ceases to be more and more interesting. Because for the first time, for the second time actually, within this Parliament, this 8th Parliament, you have seen the majority side walk out on its own budget. But in this instance, it's about the processes and procedures of Parliament. They have their standing orders. They have the dictates of what happens in Parliament, what processes ought to be followed, and how they ought to be followed. I find it rather interesting that two sides of Parliament cannot decide what ought to be and what ought not to be in terms of the same procedures and processes that they have. Something is clear, though. If the majority had the numbers in Parliament, the last time this debate came up, they wouldn't have walked out when there was a call for a headcount. On the other hand, where the right processes followed to ensure that the right thing was done as far as this vote was concerned. So for those of you who watched, the Speaker asked for the decision of the House. There was aye and there was nay, and the Speaker said the ayes had it. But it didn't end there because, like we've mentioned, Emmanuel Kofi Boa actually made mention of the fact that no, we don't think the ayes actually have it, which was where the headcount was requested and the majority, on the back of the majority leader's call, filed out of Parliament. Did they have the numbers? I think that is for you to decide. But with these attitudes and things happening, will that augur well for our Parliament or parliamentary business, and for all of us moving forward. There are concerns with the 2024 budget statement. It's a sine qua non. It's a without which not. It is clear there are myriad challenges with it on the tax level, on the provisional level, on budgets for different ministries, among others. There are problems. Are we going to address them? Are we going to foist them down the throats of, or shove them down the throats of everybody? Well, we'll leave the parliamentarians to debate that. We'll leave the speaker to determine whether or not this budget statement has been approved. The last time, so the majority is saying it's been approved. The minority is saying it has not been approved. Where does that leave us? And how will parliamentary work flow from there? I ponder, for example, I'm wondering. So the finance minister wants to come to Parliament to do some work that likely would require certain numbers. Will he get the approval from the minority? I don't know, but it's up to the parliamentarians. Of course, we elect them to go into those constituencies. Let them do their work, and let's see how this machinery will run. We have a caller on the line. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
I'd appreciate it if you could speak up a little for me. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Sewali.
Taiwali.
Sewali.
Sewali.
Wazi, W-A-Z-Y.
Sewazi, I see. Okay. Is that your nickname?
No, my real name. Wazi is my real name.
Wazi is your real name. All right, my apologies then. What are your thoughts for us this morning? Where are you calling from again? Where did you say you were calling from?
I'm calling from Hacho.
Hacho, all right.
Yes.
What are your thoughts for us?
Concerning the airline.
Right.
I read economics level, first degree.
Okay.
And I don't think you need economics to understand that this is not a well thought through policy.
Okay.
Because I just want to give a scenario. You are in a house with your wife, and you think your wife is working and doesn't have time to spend with the kids. Meanwhile, you, the husband, your salary is 1,000 cedis, and you tell your wife to stop work. But that's actually increasing your income. It is not a thought-through policy. So I think that what the minister should do is, as it has been done before, an import substitution policy should be put in place, like the 1G1F that we spoke about, that we never saw anything about, and then the planting on food and job that we have not seen any food in our market. These are the policies they should give up, so that when we get the product produced and selling, then we can protect our local industries with the import substitution. The restriction that we are putting on. But please, Benjamin, this is what I want to ask. I'm surprised. I could remember 2016, many people come about talking about what Mahama is not doing right. We have pastors, we have opinion leaders, we have so many great people talking about the state of the economy. But I'm surprised everyone is quiet. What is happening?
Not everyone is quiet. Have you followed the Ghana Bishops' Conference?
People are quiet.
Have you followed the Ghana Bishops' Conference in recent times? Not even just in recent times. They've been speaking a lot about galamsey, the abuse of our environment, corruption. A lot of that has happened, together with other groups from time to time. I admit, and I know exactly where you're going, some specific people, let's leave their names out, who were vociferous then are not speaking now. You can't force them, can you? But I guess it shows really who they are and for whatever reason they may not be speaking. Because me, back then, I always tell people the wrong things that were going on. I spoke about them. I spoke against them vociferously against Mahama. And I'm doing so now. And whatever administration comes, it will be same. But you cannot say same for some other people. It's their cup of tea. We leave that to their conscience, right?
I believe you. I think so. Because I've been watching every morning. You have been consistent. But what surprises me is that from 2015 to 2016, almost every radio station, almost every TV station, I don't want to mention their names. You hear Dumelo, you hear about Mahama's expenditure. All of us, personally, I didn't vote because I said, oh no, what this guy is doing is not right.
Right.
But I'm surprised you are not saying the same at this time. It's like our leaders, not only our leaders in politics, but our leaders in churches and other with our imams, and they are failing us, the youth. I think this is the time, as they spoke the last time, they should speak now. It should be fair, or else it looks like the writings are on the wall. We are heading towards doom, as the OSP said. Thank you very much.
Thank you for calling. The writing is on the wall. I think shortly we'll wrap up and veer into sports. But let's quickly go on, maybe before we go to the international front and cap off and get to sports. 24-hour economy is the idea of the APC. That's according to Hassan Ayariga. You know, when he started talking about this, I was at Christ the King hosting an event where he attended that event, and he spoke about this bit. So, Uncle Hassan Ayariga, my good friend, let's situate the conversation. I do know that in his 2020 All People's Congress manifesto, he had one line, I think point 18 or 19, talking about a 24-hour economy. But guess what? The NDC, and it's surprising how all this was overshadowed, and it's now coming to the fore, also in its 2020 manifesto, had said, but even before these two parties had them, the 40-year development plan. Do you remember that? Osafo Mafo and, we don't need... That 40-year development plan, many, many years before 2020, had that. A 24-hour economy. So, yes, there may be claims about I did this or I brought that. But like I said, it doesn't matter which political party brings it up. MPP, NDC, APC, PPP, CPP, PNC, it doesn't matter. Is it a good idea? Can it shore up employment? The vice president has been saying we've created 2.1 million jobs. Where are the jobs? Where are they? With unemployment at where it is, and some experts will even tell you that it's way more than that. Where are the jobs? We'll take our final caller and then cap off this conversation. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Your name, where you're calling from, sir?
My name is Maxwell, calling from German South.
Calling from?
German South.
German South. Okay, German South. Maxwell, you have the final bite. What is your take?
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. And greetings to your listeners. My concern is about the OSP.
Right.
How he is lamenting. I think OSP has been given a specific function and role to play. But it seems he is trying to use his office to sometimes hunt people without going into whatever that is supposed to go. About this LaBianca issue and the court ruling and the press conference that OSP held last time indicates that OSP is trying to use his office to hunt people. That's what I would say.
But
if you want to,
if I may just share some thoughts with you. So there's the LaBianca issue with all the LaBianca, I mean, the woman at the center of all of that, in the thick of it, and then the two officers, customs officials, especially Colonel Damwa, who famously called the OSP a small boy. Then we can talk about, I believe there's the Charles Bishu issue. There has been the Cecilia Abnadapa issue, among others that have come to him. But there also seems to be a certain trend. I mean, remember, for example, with Cecilia Dapa, the statement from the presidency said they were sure, the president was sure, that her integrity would shine through. You also cannot say that all these people were whistle clean, that there was nothing amiss. Yes, there have been some rulings, there have been some that we have no idea what the decisions are. I'm not saying all of them, but aren't you concerned with his office and the back and forth, the pushback from the judiciary, as he is saying, and others? Aren't you concerned about that?
I'm concerned, but what I'm trying to say is that he should do a deeper investigation, get all the necessary, whatever evidence.
Right. Before he makes a move, right?
And that if he is at fault, he should set me and give a time to, and he did. What did it? So
unfortunately, can you go back just a little? We are losing some of what you're saying. The connection is bad. Just start a little. Hello? Go back about 20 seconds. I can hear you. Go ahead.
Is it okay, sir?
It's better. Go ahead.
What I'm saying is that the option was given to OSU to send Kwajo Damwa to court if he thinks he's at fault. And he couldn't do that. And Damwa sent OSU to court, and this is the court decision. So if he thinks there's any review or anything to be done, he can continue with it and don't try to seek the public sympathy as if there was some evidence in whatever it is.
Okay. Thank you very much. So he should stay out of the court of public opinion, like the Ghana Bar Association is saying. The only difficulty is going to fight your battle with the same entity you are struggling with. But thank you. That's how we're going to have to cap off. I'll just leave you with the headlines on the international front. Israel strikes Gaza as truce with Hamas ends. Released Palestinians allege abuse in Israeli jails. There has also been same from the Israelis who have been released, claiming that some of them were even raped. New AI may threaten safe office jobs. And just to let you know this morning, as I share with you my blunt thoughts, I'll be sharing my thoughts on the resource curse and our import-export conundrum, where we really are. The resource curse and our import-export conundrum, where we really are. Before we veer into sports, this segment always brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They're offering prostate screening for free, fertility screening if you're a woman for free. Just reach out to them at any of their branches. Here in Accra, they're at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. In Kumasi, Chronomabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrady Anaji State Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and the Siaman Zima. Their call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Bringing us to the end of the news review and the start of sports with Mubarak Haruna. Do stay.
Welcome to the sports segment of the AM show. My name is Haruna Mubarak. Now, the Black Queens will be in action later today against Namibia in the first leg of the qualifiers for the 2024 Women's Africa Cup of Nations. The team is unbeaten in 9 matches under head coach Nora Hoptel and hope to extend that record to 10. Lawrence Beidou watched the players train yesterday and reports.
The Queens will hope to put up a commanding performance to attain an early advantage when they take on Namibia at the Accra Sports Stadium on Friday in the first leg encounter. All 23 players called up completed Thursday's training session with no injury concerns ahead of the fixture. Nora Hoptel is chasing a 10th successive win as head coach of the women's senior national team. It may not be a walk in the park against the Southern Africans, but the Swiss trainer has cautioned her team will stick to their principles.
We do it as well, our staff, our analysts, and we already had with our players a look at the opponent. Of course, we also mark certain things. They have a top striker. We know that they are very defending quite well and narrow on, let's say, in the lines, maybe not between the lines, and then they work on transitions. So for this, we always create solutions, but the nearer we go to the game, we focus on us, on our principles, on our performance, and what do we need to deliver. And then I think we are in fully control of the game.
FC Nordjylland's Jennifer Kuju is one of 17 players who are looking to play in the competition for the first time. The midfielder says the team is obsessed about the prospects of being in Morocco for the main tournament.
I think a few of us, we haven't been into the WAFCON before. This will be my first time, so the conversation is always like, what does it look like to be there? What it would look like to be able to actually perform and qualify again, because it's been a long time. So it's conversation that it keeps coming up, every time. But I feel like everybody knows why we are here. We've been out for a long time, and this is the time that we can use this opportunity to get back into, the African again. And so it's just like a normal conversation that goes on every time. People want to be there because it's everybody's goal, yeah.
The Black Queens are just 2 games away from making their dreams a possibility. But first is the task in Accra on Friday at 3:30 p.m.
As far as possible, make it far out so you use your hamstring.
Now, the Black Stars' recent performances in the 2026 World Cup qualifiers has led to a slight dip in the FIFA rankings. Ghana has moved to the 61st place globally and maintains its 11th position in Africa. There's more in this report by my colleague Elon Benaya.
Black Stars have dropped in the latest FIFA ranking following their recent performances over the international break. Ghana has now moved further down to 61st, having occupied the 60th position for the last 3 rankings. The latest positioning also means the Black Stars will end the calendar year with the best rank being the 59th position, which came in June 2023. The Black Stars, since the last update in October, have played 2 games, the first 2 games of the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers. Ghana won the opening game against Central African Republic before losing away from home against Comoros in their next fixture. The Islanders, on the other hand, record their best rank in their history as they move 9 places up in the standings. Comoros have recorded wins over Cape Verde, Central African Republic and Ghana in their last international games, which sees them occupy the 119th spot. Notably, Comoros has achieved its highest ever rank, moving up 9 places to occupy the 119th position following their recent victories over Cape Verde, Central African Republic and Ghana. In the global rankings, Argentina maintains its lead in the first position, followed by France in second place, and England now in the top 3 after moving up 1 position. Belgium has also climbed 1 place to 4th, while Brazil, despite losing ground, holds the 5th position. The Netherlands and Portugal have exchanged positions in the top 10, which includes Spain, Italy, and Croatia.
To the CAF Champions League, Midiama will host Algeria's Belouizdad at the Baba Yara Stadium today in the second match of the competition. The Ghanaian champions are in 3rd after suffering a 3-0 defeat to Al Ahly in their first game. Speaking ahead of the match today, Midiama coach Ivan Sadote says they've gathered enough information about their opponent and are hopeful of a win.
It has taken me the last 2 days to go through the game played between Belouizdad against Youngest. We've seen a lot. We've gathered some information from their camp, and all that we are doing is I have to look at my team first. How we want to approach the game. What is the plan? If plan A is not working, what is plan A? What is the way forward? We have plan B, we have plan C. But all that I need to do is first look at the strength of the opponent and their weakness. Playing at home the other time against Yanga, it was a different approach. And I hope coming back here, they may come with a different motive. All that I want to say, come tomorrow. I'm not going to predict. It is my mission that tomorrow, Midiama will have to carry the day. Whether we will score 2, 3, or 1, at the end of the game, I want to see my team coming up or winning, carrying the day. That is all.
Yeah, Coach, Douglas Sechi, Ash FM. Your game against El Ahly, you describe it as David and Goliath affair. Tomorrow's game, how will you describe it?
I've said it already. All that I'm saying is come tomorrow. I need the 3 points. The other time it was David and Goliath affair. Well, anything can happen. I predicted I was going in with a mission. What happened? 60 minutes, it was quite good. And later, the trend changed. So all that I want to say is, see Midiama tomorrow as a different medium, like my captain said. We want to carry the day, that is all. And it depends on the strategy that my team will mount.
Elsewhere, Dreams FC also take on Rivers United on Sunday at the Baba Yara Stadium in the CAF Confederation Cup. Now, to the Ghana Premier League. Now, BetPower has announced a collaborative decision with the Ghana Football Association to step away from the role of being headline sponsors to directing their efforts towards providing benefits to the players. Razak Musbao has more.
After years without a headline sponsor, it came as a great sigh of relief for most clubs when in August 2022, the Ghana Football Association unveiled sports betting firm BetPower as the official headline sponsor of the Ghana Premier League. The firm had committed to investing $6 million over a 3-year period with an annual contribution of $2 million. The sponsorship was intended to boost the league's marketing and positioning, making it one of the most successful and attractive leagues in Africa.
And thank you for your big commitments in investing a minimum of $6 million over 3 years into Ghana football. From this money, we shall see investment in the construction of a new football pitch at AstroTurf at the Ghanaman School of Excellence in Pampram. From the money that you intend to invest, we're going to see high levels of marketing and promotions of the GPL, which will be unprecedented for the first time in our history.
However, 15 months into the 3-year deal and following weeks of speculation, the sports and betting firm has decided to step down from its role as the headline sponsor of the Ghana Premier League, citing a collaborative decision with the Ghana Football Association to refocus their partnership efforts. In an official statement dated November 30, 2023, BetPower outlined its new approach of prioritizing player welfare, which includes increasing the locker room bonus for players of every team that wins the league match from 150 Ghana cedis to 400 Ghana cedis. Additionally, the company pledged to finalize the construction of the BetPower pitch at the Ghana Soccer Center of Excellence Pram as part of its dedication to infrastructure development under the new partnership framework. The new development, which has since been communicated to all 18 clubs in the top flight league, poses a significant setback for the clubs that will now have to largely rely on broadcasting rights revenue with 22 more games to play in the league. The situation has also renewed the conversation on a sustainable funding for the Ghana Premier League and other football competitions in the country. While others continue to call on the private sector to take up the investment opportunity, others, like the Vice President of the Ghana Football Association, Mark Addo, believes government should consider stepping in to help.
In Tanzania, their TV rights about $100 million. Why do you think the players leave here to go and play in Tanzania? You know, so
but we are not there yet.
We are not there
comparatively.
So we also have to push and get some of the major companies in country who are thinking about it. Get them over the line so that they can contribute and help us out. And also the government has to come in.
However, with the 2024 budget already prepared and before Parliament, it is unlikely that the current government will consider such an initiative. But could it appeal to the various flag bearers in next year's election campaign and possibly be adopted as part of their manifestos on sports? Well, only time will tell. For Joy Sports, Razak Musbao.
Well, Razak Musbao with that comprehensive report today. Let's check out the fixtures for this weekend. It's match day 13 and we've got some exciting fixtures to look forward to. Hearts of Lions, they are up against Dreams FC. Of course, that match has been postponed because Dreams FC are participating in the CAF Confederation Cup. With Olympics, they take on Legon Cities. Karela United are up against Bechem United, but Fakata not take on Samatex. Accra Lions will welcome Nations FC. Bibiani Gold Stars take on Swaziland. Ediana Stars are up against Hearts of Lions, and that last game as well between RTU and Midiama has been postponed as well. That's your sports on the AM show. My name is Haruna Mubarak.
myself here police station. Na traffic light no be say na say. O kwa ndi how you papa. How you papa na. South traffic light na say. What you na won kese fi we be di mira so. Anas we di mira so na. Hwe ba ku bi airport. Airport first one, second one. Now the court say Shangri-La. It's so red. Now red no gina say green no ba. What green in na man, no is a red night. Abba. Na house distance no mu ware. Obe wu pepepe na motor riders ni bi. Offend Diana say o so ngai dey. Won a chiru. Obe kan red ni so yellow remba. Green ni so yellow remba na red na ba at once.
Okay, o shot yeah juma na say no. Traffic bi dey say bia pay bia traffic. Attends enye juma. Udu wa no police. Na fe obi abezo problem edumi cause accident all the time. Ha ndi e sa na yen so ye high pa. We ko be bi dey say bia traffic bi dey pay bia awofu Medina away as away residential. Etumi block enye juma na fe police for no so no na ye brothers na etumi nya bata kakra. Ba bi dey say happy junction. Atele bia ye duma na traffic bia ma accident pa oga akra ama go wu ye do we eva uvi we do span awo no traffic light bi wo atele bia enye duma atele bia ye duma senda so wo do private car bia je mo so we jina at once na wa yi tin to e be say traffic no mbe no mo ye ma ye e so second span as red e je ma eduma no enko so ye ma ye kura.
I think we need more overpasses and zebra crossings, especially during rush hour. A lot of people are rushing home after work for rest. The vehicles as well are in a hurry to get home to rest after a long day's work. So here's the case: the traffic light is not working. Then we have to struggle to cross the road with them. If they want to stop, they stop. If they don't stop, you'll be there. So whether 30 minutes, 1 hour, you'll be there until you get the chance to cross. So having a zebra crossing or an overpass, I don't have to go through that stress. And as a citizen, I think this is my right and I deserve it. Thank you.
You put it up and they go and steal the batteries. They take away the cables. That junction in 2 years, we did it about 3 times. And they go and do that. If you drive on that stretch, almost all the signals are off. Not as a result of the department negligence, but stolen equipment.
The Ghanaian government has signaled a commitment to tackling the country's carbon footprint with policies ensuring lower sulfur content in fuels and the promotion of renewable sources of energy like solar, wind and hydroelectric power. However, reducing carbon emissions is different from reducing air pollution. Air pollutants are caused by the tiny particles that are in the gases, smoke and dust emitted by vehicles, industry and burning of waste. They invade people's lungs and bloodstream, causing illness, and they cause havoc in the atmosphere. And they continue to grow. The biggest contributor to air pollution is exhaust fumes emitted by the array of aging vehicles crowding the streets, according to the World Health Organization. And it's a growing problem for millions in heavily polluted cities like Accra, causing an increase in asthma, respiratory illnesses, as well as heart and kidney problems.
I don't know whether we have a law backing the pollution or not. I don't know, unless maybe you have to educate me.
That's Abraham Ni Odai, an assemblyman for Nkwintanang West, who is responsible for the local governance of a part of Medina. Medina is home to a bustling bus terminal and frequently experiences prolonged traffic congestion. It's also home to one of the biggest markets in Accra.
How many cars do you think we have here?
It's more than, I can't call, but we are getting more than almost about, say, 500,000 cars here. Whenever you are going to Lomé, you are going to Nigeria, we are going to all over the country, maybe continental, maybe Niger, Benin.
So I'll get a car to anywhere in any part of the country here.
Here.
interested.
Data from air quality sensors dotted across the capital shows Medina has some of the most polluted air in the country. That comes as no surprise to Abraham. This is because the municipal environmental health officers are not well resourced.
Municipal Assembly cannot do much. If a law has been passed from the parliament, it will cushion this thing to be sanitize the place. But with the environmental officers in our municipality, they can't do much.
The smoke is disturbing this area because it can give us cancer. It gives a lot of sickness.
The market is teeming with thousands of people. Many of them eat from food vendors that cook with charcoal or wood. The resulting smoke blankets the entire area, causing health risk for everyone here. Muhammad Isa is a resident. He says sometimes it leads to quarrels.
We are all one, brothers and sisters. You take us. Here is not our hometown. We are here for money. So if you are disturbing me, or you are doing something against, and I talk to you, you have to listen and then
sometimes they don't understand. They come and rather fight with you.
Sometimes the authorities face challenges as well. Abraham says he knows too little about air pollution to pass on the information.
Clearly, I get the point that you have not been educated at all as an individual, even about how to go about educating people.
At all.
Indiscriminate burning, sometimes of rubbish. Look at this one. You can see the carbon. You can see under the exhaust pipe. You can see that all those exhaust emissions are all polluting the air.
NDC Member of Parliament for Medina and human rights lawyer Francis Xavier Sosu is one of a few legislators interested in the clean air space. He says the problem can no longer be left to the local assemblies to deal with. It's time for the national government to get serious about addressing the problems.
The state level, our environmental protection vision has not been very clear. It is the state that must provide leadership. As a people, I don't think we have we have developed a clear-cut vision of our environmental conservation and protection, and I haven't seen like the direct set targets and whether we are actually achieving those targets.
That's why Sosu and two other MPs are sponsoring a private members' bill called the Climate Change Bill that he says is designed to make the government and the biggest polluters accountable. It will enforce clean air standards on vehicle owners, factories, commercial agriculture and households.
When it comes to the Clean Air Bill, we are targeting every aspect or wherever pollution exists. The ultimate responsibility to ensure quality air lies on the government, and that is what this bill seeks to clarify. That look, there are rights holders and there are duty bearers. The states, under this circumstance, is a duty bearer and has an obligation to ensure that we have clean air, so that we don't wait for, until 10 years, 20 years before people are now experiencing lung cancer, all kinds of cancerous circumstances that we cannot deal with. And these are real things that can happen when you don't pay attention to even the kind of air that you are breathing. And so one of the first draft that is almost getting ready is a clean air. Okay. So that under the space we have a clean air bill that places direct obligation on state and state architects to take action when people are undertaking, activities that violate the collective interest or the collective consciousness of everyone.
Former Director of Air Quality at the Environmental Protection Agency, Emmanuel Apple, agrees the laws around air quality need to be harmonized.
Every institution that had to do with pollution of the environment has their own laws, and that is very good, so that we can have interdisciplinary, multi-dimensional approach to reduce pollution. So I agree that institutions should have their own laws, per the mandate what the Constitution told us to do, that the state will have to do that. So every organ of the state has to implement the laws that so yes, we have a lot of laws. But key limitation now is that we don't have the air quality policy. Though the laws have been there, but we don't have the policy.
The push for a cleaner environment is happening in countries around the world. In 2022, nations at the United Nations General Assembly voted to declare access to clean, healthy and sustainable environment was a universal human right.
The result of the vote is as follows. In favor, 161, against 0, abstentions 8. The draft resolution A/76/L75 is adopted.
In clause 6 of the draft bill, it says any individual, firm or government ministry, department or agency who or which willfully and without any justifiable reason, proof of which shall be on the individual, firm or MDA, violates the provisions of this act shall be liable on summary conviction to a fine. Clause 7 of the bill also allows ordinary Ghanaians to hold government accountable by bringing cases before the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice. Pollution from vehicles is one of the biggest contributors to the air quality menace. The bill is targeting to cut Ghana's emissions, and the private transport industry will be affected. Senior Industrial Relations Officer and Head of Communications for the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRTU, Abbas Imoro, admits that air pollution is a major concern, so his members will not oppose it.
Air pollution, we are much concerned because if your vehicle is weak and it pollutes, you spend more on the vehicle. We look at it in this way. Weak engine contributes, bad fuel contributes. If you use a diesel and your pump is also weak, it also contributes.
Abbas says drivers will support the bill on condition that implementers of the law are transparent and apply scientific standards for measuring pollutants in exhaust fumes.
We will support it, but in order not to cheat professional drivers, they should come up with the mechanism. If there is any component which can measure the volume of pollution which should not be allowed to be on the road, but you just can't mention pollution, maybe something in a small size, then you say no, it shouldn't be on the road.
The GPRTU maintains that buses that emit excessive fumes are prohibited from operating at bus terminals. However, the existence of vehicles like this emitting fumes suggests that the GPRTU should not regulate itself. The bill has a long way to go to pass into law. The minority leader, Keso Atoforsen, told Joy News the bill is important and will whip all members to support it. It is likely heavy industry and transport companies who have the most to lose from the legislation will lobby members not to support it. Whether it wins enough votes to pass or not, Sosu and his colleagues hope that the bill will get the conversation on air pollution going and rope in industry players, both local and international. This story was a collaboration with New Narratives. Funding was provided by the Clean Air Fund, which had no say in the story's content. For Joy News, Michael Ashale.
Eyes but no eyes. That's the song we started with this morning. Just a neat way to get into my blunt thoughts for today. And we'll keep playing that song because it's so reflective of our misleadership and everything going on in our country. Them get eyes, but them know they see. Them get heart, but them know they feel. Them get mind, but them know they think. Bad mind. I said it. This morning, I've titled my blunt thoughts, Ghana 4, The Resource Curse and Our Import-Export Conundrum, Where We Really Are. The Resource Curse and Our Import-Export Conundrum, Where We Really Are. This morning, I had reason to go back to this quote that says, "To know the good from the bad, study a man or woman's history of actions, not their record of intentions." I'll take that quote again. To know the good from the bad, study a man or woman's history of actions, not their record of intentions. Like another saying says, and that, by the way, is by Susie Kasim. Like another saying says, the road to hell is paved with many good intentions, but intentions don't solve problems. And that's why this morning, as I address two crucial issues, our use of our natural resources as a country, and even before that, this whole bit about restricting imports. It's a good thing, fundamentally. But how we go about it will determine whether we stay afloat or sink. It's that clear. That's why we've had that economist at the University of Ghana say, we're playing with fire in this entire enterprise of the trade-offs, the import substitution. You don't have the data. You don't have the right structures in place. Yet you want to jump and do what? Come with me to the slides. They will explain better what I am trying to vocalize. Now, if you look at the export and import LI and the purpose of the regulation, it is to, one, establish a special import management mechanism for regulating and monitoring the importation of the selected strategic products set out in the first schedule for the economic development of the country. That is what it claims. Two, streamline and rationalize the import bill of the country to improve balance of payments and economic stabilization. And three, provide measures to conserve foreign exchange, safeguard critical imports, and contribute to sustainable consumption. I want to stay here because if you look at management mechanisms for regulating and monitoring importation of selected strategic products, what have we done over the years? That's why I started with a quote. It's not about what the person says or what the person intends. It's about what a person has done in the past. What have we done in managing importation in the past? It's been a wholesale process. Even look at used clothing. Other countries in Africa, Kenya and others, have had some cause to worry. Look at that market. What have we done about those in the past? Is there some sort of epiphany? To improve our balance of payments and economic stabilization. When did we come to this eureka moment and realize that we cannot, as a country, if we needed to improve our balance of payment, we needed to shore up? Is it at this 11th hour that we're realizing it? How about all the 7 years prior? What have we done in them? And then to conserve foreign exchange. Of course, now with the constraints, I always say that I think when we have our backs against the wall, that's the only time we really think as a country. And even then, graft overtakes us. Let's go to the next slide. Now, it also says a person, now if you look at some of the requirements for import, a person shall not import or cause to be imported into the country a selected strategic product without an import permit issued by the minister on the written recommendation of the Import Permit Committee. Note, minister, without an import permit issued by the minister on the written recommendation of the Import Permit Committee. These two entities, Import Permit Committee, minister, this is a recipe for corruption. I've said it. It's a recipe. I'm not the only one saying it. Academics are saying it. Once you give yourself these overweening powers, you are setting yourself up for disaster. We go ahead with this, it's disaster in the making. 2, a person shall not facilitate the importation of a selected strategic product or shipment of a selected strategic product into the country without an import permit issued by the minister on the written recommendation of the Import Permit Committee. Next slide. And then we come to the list of items. Now, mind you, no one is saying that progressively we shouldn't get to the point where we are self-sustaining. In fact, food security is a matter of national security. It's one of the human security needs when people have food to consume. So no one is saying we shouldn't get to that point. But you cannot move from point 1 to point 100 overnight. And later when I get to the charts, I'll explain to you, even in terms of rice and Nigeria, how long it's taken them, over a decade, and they are still not there yet. So you look at the items, rice, a staple in Ghana, guts, bladders, and stomachs of animals, yemwadie, if you like, poultry, animal and vegetable oil, margarine, fruit juices, soft drinks, mineral water, mosquito coil and insecticides, soaps and detergents, motor cars, iron and steel, diapers, polymers, that is plastic and plastic products, fish, biscuits, canned tomatoes. This is a shame. Till now, we don't even have the technology to create the purees and others. I know we have I don't even know whether they are cottage industries. A few things going on here. Beyond that, but if you look at the scale, nothing to write home about. Ceramic tiles, there are claims about 1D, 1F on this, but what is the production? What are the production levels? Nowhere near anything close to what we require as a country. Clothing and apparel, noodles and pasta, sugar. Another issue there. Commenda both the NDC, the previous administration, this current administration. Sugar. Not even a cup of it. And then you get into what someone who's been deputy minister, I believe, of trade and industry says. He's a member of parliament as well for Cape Coast South. He says this: the issue here is whether we should go for a ban or restriction, as they call it now, when we have not actually made adequate provision in terms of import substitution. And you know what that means. So instead of bringing in the toothpicks, what would be the substitute that we can produce locally? Well, we have bamboo here. We have other items we could use for toothpicks. Why are we not making them and still bring them in from China? That's what our leaders should be concerned about, and how we can meet the cap. Not about, oh, let's stop it. Stop it and go for what? When the people have a certain taste, whether acquired or not. Stop it and go for what? What's the option? What's the alternative? This is what this whole thing is about. Are there ways of having you produce these things yourself? If you don't scale up production, you are going to create chaos. Next slide. Now here's the breakdown. Here's where it gets interesting. If you look at Ghana's imports versus our export value over time, if you look at the gap analysis, the trend analysis, you would realize that in billions of cedis, from 2012 to 2020, you would realize a certain tail of the tape. Now in 2012, now mind you, the yellow line reflects imports. The black line reflects exports. You would usually want your yellow line, the imports, to be lower than the black line, the exports. But here's our reality. In 2012, there was some proximity, closeness, in terms of our imports, $19.10 billion versus our exports, $18.70 billion. There was that proximity. It was good. You come all the way till around 2013, similar figures, 18.40 versus 17.80. But then 2014, the gap starts widening before the 2016 elections. So you'd see that imports were falling much more below the export value, about $1.7 billion in difference. It continued that trend, and then we hit 2016 with a gap of about $1.6 billion in terms of imports versus exports. For the first time around this area, crucially, you would see exports briefly or with a small margin overtake our imports. But since that time, look at the analysis. In around 2017, the imports 15.70, the exports 17.10, which was a positive there. Then again, 2018, the gap widened even further. This is a difference of about 4.2 billion. Then we get to 2019. Still, there was a gap of about 4 billion. But then, here's where it started becoming problematic. From around 2019 getting into 2020. So you would see that the imports, the exports actually 13.40 billion, the imports 16.30. Or is it rather, I think I'm missing this, The imports, yes, 16.30, the exports 13.40. And since then, you look at the trend analysis, it's been widening to around the current figure, right before the current state, where you're looking at a difference of about 6 billion. I do know that in recent times there was talk about some trade surplus or all of that, but sometimes we ought to ask ourselves, based on what? Next slide. Based on what are we getting that? Our staples, if you take out the gold, the cocoa, sometimes you pick 2 or 3 materials. We're left hanging. In the rest, we're totally caught pants down. You look at Switzerland, for example. What is the greatest thing? You look at the billions we get from them. But what is it? It's mainly gold. That is it. Most of the countries, that is it. So you ask yourself, if something happens in that regard, what happens to our economy? Now look at the national demand when it comes to rice production. Let's take a bit of a focus on that. National demand versus local production. There's an interesting story here. 2017, you look at, and by the way, total demand is the lighter green and the local production is the darker green. You look at production from 2017 to 2023 as of now, you would see that we're hitting something just around 750 to 800,000 metric tons, okay? From around 450,000 metric tons in 2017. But then you look at this is the local production, by the way, this trajectory. The total demand is what we're seeing here. 1 million metric tons in 2017 when we were producing 450K, which was just about what? Less than half what we required. In 2018, 510, our production, 1.12 million metric tons, the requirement. You would come to 2020, 500K versus 1.42, and it has been increasing. Now we're at a stable 2022 to 2023, around 1.5 million metric tons. But look at our production. What this means is that basically if you want to do away with imports or you want to ease it off, it has to be gradual. Else, how do you contain a shortfall of about 50+%? This is a shortfall of about 55+%. How do you make up for the shortfall? How? How are you going to do it? You don't have the mechanisms in place. How will you do it? And then let's look at this. We can also look at poultry. Yeah? The national demand, again, but this time it's a 3-pronged approach. We're looking at total demand on one end, imports on another end, and then local production on the third leg. So let's do it this way. What is the total demand? When you look at 2020, the total demand was 356,000 metric tons. The imports alone, 295,000. The local production, look at where it was. Like someone with stunted, some entity with stunted growth. 58,000 metric tons, 58,000, less than 60,000. Look at the difference. 356,000, 60,000. That's about a shortfall of what? 295,000, which we had to import. In 2021, it rose to 400,000 metric tons. You look at what we were able to produce, 50,000. Again, even less than in 2020. The gap, 350,000. It had gone up naturally. Now you come here, it has risen even more, 460,000 metric tons. Our local production, 60,000. The gap, 400,000. Do the trend analysis. We needed to import 295,000 in 2020. In 2021, we needed to import 350,000. In 2022, we needed to import 400,000. Mind you, poultry is on that table. How are you filling the gap? It's not about saying it. It's not about sentimentalism. It's about the reality. How will you do it? Do you have the necessary production locally to achieve it? Next slide. Then we look at, we can't talk in a vacuum, right? So let's look at an example, Nigeria, and what they have done. Now, remember I told you, there's a 10-year difference here. Nigeria in 2010 and Nigeria in 2022. In fact, that is a 12-year difference. In terms of their rice production, they've been battling. They put up the rice pyramids and all of that. But what is the tail of the tape? In metric tons, this is the rice production in Nigeria. They have produced in 2010, 2.8 million, 2.9 million, 2012, 3.42 million, 2015, 3.94, 2017, 4.4, till 2022, where they've reached 5.35 million. How long did it take them to double production? A period of 12 years since 2010. For us, Like I showed you, 800,000 metric tons is what we're producing locally. Our consumption is over 1.5 million metric tons. That means we need more than twice our production to catch up. This is what it took Nigeria to be able to double production from 2010, 2.8 million to 5.35 million in 2022. In fact, twice of 2.8 million is 5.6 million. They are even still not there at twice the level of production. These are the real things we should wrap our minds around. Do we need this? Should we do something like this progressively? Yes. Do we do it, boom, wholesale, all at once? No. You create chaos, havoc. And the prices of things, look at inflation, the prices of things will shoot up, and who suffers? The poorest of the poor will suffer. These are the things we ought to consider. Now, ISA's report on high food import reliance says Ghana is very dependent on food imports and highly vulnerable to external shocks, which is true. But who caused them? Our misleaders and all of us. We've caused it because of our appetite. We need to work at it, but it will not happen with the wave of a magic wand. No. But just to cap off the conversation, even as we talk about all these, sometimes we need to reflect on our resources. What are we doing with them? Recently, we've also discovered what some call white gold, lithium. But I want you to check out these last two slides, and I'll leave you to ponder what we're heading towards as a country. Former Chief Justice Sophia Akufo says this, it is not different of our current deal. It is not different in principle and in substance from any of Ghana's previous colonial time types of agreements. Gaggisberg. Some call it the Gaggisberg model, whatever description. All those agreements are colonial types of agreements, which over the years have yielded very little good to the overall benefit of the average Ghanaian. Even today, we're not getting any better. We're celebrating 10%. Let's go to the last slide. Ghana's lithium deal. This is the overview, and this is how I'll cap it off. Between Ghana and Barari DV Ghana Limited, the value $250 million. It will commence in 2025, and I foresee certain things happening with this deal. But anyway, that's not my purview. It's not my work. It's not my burden. The deal includes a 10% royalty and 13% free carried interest by the state. 1% of revenue earned by the company will be paid into a community development fund to help uplift the mining area. It's almost as though we weren't learning from other African countries and what they are getting. The examples are out there. The Kenyas, the Rwandas, the Namibias, the South Africas. Why can't we do the same? Or is it because of what someone will get from somewhere? Sophia Akufo, former Chief Justice, says that. None too different from what we were getting in the colonial era. So 63 years on, if we're still striking deals like we used to get under the Gaggisberg economy, yakoye and ayabai. I'll leave you with this quote by Benjamin Sulola. He says, "May the Lord raise leaders for our nations who will respond correctly to his demand of honesty." I pray for that, and you should too. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. These are my blunt thoughts shared with you, raw, hot, unedited, undiluted. I know I make people uncomfortable. Some don't like what I do, but I do it for you, for your children, for the children to come after that. This is Ghana, the land of the warrior king. We've lost our way, but we can still get back. May God bless Ghana and make her truly great and strong. To Ayekwafo, all the farmers, happy Farmers' Day to you. For those in animal husbandry and those, planting the food that we all consume. Of course, we're talking about the import, bill or import restrictions bill. We need to do better as a country on that front. But for now, we're going to assess what we do as farming in this country in terms of sustaining ourselves if anything were to happen elsewhere, like we've seen poignantly happen between Russia and Ukraine, and how some things affected many places across the world in respect of grain, cereal, among others. Should some of those things happen, the question is, would Ghana be self-sufficient in terms of food production? We contemplate that. We also look at these decades we've had of a national farmer. You know, I recall some time back putting out something from the Daily Graphic, a very old, edition of the Daily Graphic with the sort of gifts that were given to the national best farmer many decades ago. Wellington boots, machetes, and a few things. It was a big deal back then. Today, things have changed. Sometimes they get houses, equipment, among other things. But are we still doing enough for the Ghanaian farmer? Just this morning, Osman called me from the Asankragua area, talking about the despoliation, if you like, of galamsey and how it's impacting the environment, and how now, if you wanted something like yam, okay, you would be buying it at higher prices than even in Accra and Kumasi. And this is supposed to be a farming community. So how much have we done for our farming community? And even as we talk about that, we also talk about our fisheries. They are all in tandem. They work hand in glove. Our guest this morning, to elaborate on all of these matters, we have Anthony Morrison. He is CEO, Chamber of Agri-Business. We also have Evans Tremens, our Executive Director, Agri-Wealth Ghana. He does a lot of farming. He's into cassava as well. I don't know whether he's still on that. And Bismarck Norte, PRO, Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana. We shall also get to join the conversation John Dumelo, who also is a farmer. One of his major products, ginger paste. Gentlemen, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining the conversation. You will have to unmute, gentlemen, so at least those of you on board. Is that Morrison?
Thank you very much. Yes. Benjamin, nice dress over there.
Thank you very much. All right.
So a very good morning to all wonderful farmers in Ghana and those in the value chain. From the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana, we wish you a very wonderful day. And it is our promise that the Chamber of Agribusiness will work with our partners like the PFAC, GAU, and Farmers Award winners to make sure that we continue to address their concern and to also push government to listen to their challenges.
Hold for me. Let me bring in Evans Tremens. Can you hear me, Mr. Tremens? If you're with me, please unmute so I can just be sure that I have you on board as of this time. Evans Tremens, Executive Director, Agri-Wealth Ghana. Can you hear me, sir? Hello, Evans? Okay, I think we're struggling with a connection to Evans Tremens. I will try to work it to get him on board, even as we get our other guests as well. Anthony Morrison, year in, year out, I do this when I speak to farmers, those in the value chain. I'd like to find out from you today, as we celebrate farmers, what is the tail of the tape? Where would you situate the state of the Ghanaian farmer today? And I'm not just restricting it to those planting food items. I'm extending it to animal husbandry, and I'm extending it to fish productivity in our waters. I'm also extending it over time. We'll get into the conversation of the import restrictions bill and whether we are even anywhere close. But let's start from the state of the Ghanaian farmer today. What picture do you have in your mind?
Well, Ben, the current 2024 budget explains everything. If you take the budget step by step, you understand the current state of our food and agriculture. After 4 years of operating an intensive sloganeering PFJ, a year that we have pushed all the boundaries for planting for food and jobs, one district, one factory, one village, one dam. Our agriculture sector still lags behind. If you look at the cadet score of the African Union, you realize that there is still a lot to be done. There is still more nourishment, stunting, challenges in nutrition across board. Farmers are having challenges with bad roads, after they have struggled to acquire input to produce. Farmers are having problems with diseases. Farmers are having problems with huge post-harvest losses. And it is a year that farmers have struggled across board. A year that farmers did not even get any input support, not even a grain of support from government. It is a year that the industry has been bereaved with a lot of disasters, the flooding in the north, aside the regular annual Bagri Dam spillage, a year that all the major rice production areas, Volta, Eastern, Oti, have all had to come under major disaster and destruction worth millions of dollars. So it is a year that we quickly want to push behind us. A year that government introduced a very strange tax at the harbor on inputs, a year that industry have consistently called on government to remove these taxes, and the impact of these taxes is still with us, and it will continue with us because of its negative impact it brought into the industry. So we have come under serious challenges in terms of our food production, in terms of our agri-food systems, in terms of public funding for agriculture and the value chain, in terms of supporting poultry farmers whose farms have come under serious virus attack and whose farms have now either been completely closed or more than 70% downsized. A time that the fisheries industry is completely almost on its knees. So there is absolutely nothing for us to write home about. It took the Ministry of Finance one solid year to remove these taxes that we started fighting for the previous year in December. Fast forward in February, we held press conferences, we wrote letters upon letters, we did a lot of advocacy for the government to remove these taxes. And Benjamin, to top it up all, as an icing on the cake, the role and responsibility of every government is to feed its citizens. And if its citizens are struggling and getting challenges along the line, and despite all that, they are able to use whatever is available to them to produce food, government will still charge them 5% after tax. And for me, this is nothing but an unstrategic tax, a tax that is actually not listening to the concern of those who produces Ghana's food.
Right. Just hold for me there. Let me bring in Evans Tremensa as well. He joins us via phone. Evans, you've heard your colleague Anthony Morrison on the other end lamenting the woes of the agri sector. He talks about taxes. He's spoken about fisheries. He says it's on its knees. He's spoken about planting for food and jobs as well. And interestingly, we've put up a few questions out there today. Interesting reactions coming from some of you on social media. But what is the state of the Ghanaian farmer and agriculture generally in Ghana from where you sit, Evans?
Hi, Ben. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Sorry that I couldn't join you on video. I'm on my way to the Farmers' Day. I'm actually collecting the best farmer for cassava.
Congratulations. Yes. Best farmer for cassava. Yes. Is it regional? Is it national?
No, this municipal.
Municipal?
Municipal best cassava farmer, yeah.
Wow. Which municipality is this?
That's Mampong, in the Ashanti region, Mampong.
Well, congratulations. We celebrate you on this grand feat.
Thank you very much.
What are your production levels?
Right now, I am doing 500 acre cassava. I intercrop it with maize, which I did about 400 acres, where I will be harvesting the maize by 2 weeks' time. I did a little bit of cowpea. I have some few goats. We are pushing. We are pushing.
Just because you started, before we get to the substantive question, you remember one of the last times we had a conversation, you were talking about the cost of, getting into agriculture. You already had been there. You were hoping to expand. You couldn't because of the cost of diesel, because of the cost of labor, because of the cost of equipment and all of that. Have you been able to increase production over this period?
No, I've not been able to increase. I've actually reduced my production level because I was actually hoping to do about 7-acre cassava farm this year. I couldn't do it, so I maintained the 500.
Okay.
However, because of soil fertility issues, I needed to intercrop it with maize. But generally, it has been very tough this year. A lot of issues here and there. Fuel level or fuel prices went so high that we couldn't even access some mechanical issues. When our tractor broke down, it took us almost about 2 months to fix it. And then fertilizer also skyrocketed. Using fertilizer for maize is something. You have to add about 2 MPK, for each acre, and then urea as well. So the cost of production for farmers has really, really, really been very tough, and farmers are really struggling to really pull through. However, because of our resilience and the fact that we want to feed Ghana, we want to help our young people also to see that in spite of whatever we are going through, we still have to do something to keep our nation going. We can't say that because we are going through all these tough seasons and tough times financially, in terms of input costs and all that, we don't want to farm. We have to pull ourselves through and make it happen. So it's been tough. It's been seriously struggling through and getting it done. We hope that in the coming season, things will go down, and then we'll be able to maximize and leverage on what we are doing. But generally, it's been very, very rough this season and very tough. But we keep pushing.
You say that it's been very rough. You mentioned fuel, the cost of fuel, diesel to power your equipment. You mentioned fertilizer and all of that. We've had planting for food and jobs. We've had all the programs that have been made mention of by this administration. How have they helped you within this period?
The planting for food and jobs, actually, I didn't subscribe to it last season, but I hope that this season I'll be able to do that. The challenging thing that I had was that I never even received any farm extension officer throughout the season until recent time that they visited my farm and told me that looking at the work I've done and my advocacy and stuff like that, they didn't know that I was doing such a work on ground. So they came to assess my work and decided that I won the best cassava farmer in the season we are in. But let me say that the planting for food and job, I've followed their discussion and I've met some of the directors at the ministry. We had some conversations, and I think that's a very laudable vision and idea, to push our food security level up. However, the investment that must go in, is big. But if we're able to do that, I'm sure that we can really push our food security level up. But if we don't do that, and we do politics with it, and a lot of talk and optics and speeches and conferences and stuff like that, we won't go anywhere. We have to actually really be serious and get on the ground. And if you say we have that vision, it's a laudable vision, it's something that is beautiful. I've read what I met the director. He said they want to do between 5 acres and 10 acres and a half, and they were even trying to co-opt us to be able to bring a lot of youth, onto it. But it's one thing talking about it and another thing actually doing it. And when it comes to the doing, that is where the real challenge is. And I really trust that this time around, it will not only be only seeing the pictures and videos on television, but we are actually getting the young people inside to really do the work and also having real data to speak to the issue, you know. And apart from that, the public investment in the area too will not be, excuse me to use my word, will not go into wrong hands, you know, but really get to the people who are actually doing the work. That's all we are asking for. If we can get public investment, get more funding into the planting for food and jobs phase 2, and get the people who are doing it to get the funding and the support, I am very sure that we can make a headway. But
all right.
You know, normally you do it and then people are not even farming. People have not even stepped on the farm before. Are the people, you know, managing it? There are people who are controlling the money. There are people who are controlling the input. And by the time we realize it has fallen into different hands, and the actual workers are not getting it. So we are all pleading that this time I want to see that the doers are the one having all the access to the input and all the supplies and everything.
Just hold for me briefly. Let me bring in Anthony Morrison, and there are at least one or two other guests that will rope into this conversation as it goes on. You can also feel free to share with us via the live stream what your thinking is about the state of agriculture in Ghana, and maybe even share your thoughts on the proposed restrictions on imports. But Morrison, one component I know that farmers have struggled with. You listen to Evan Stremensa. He talks about the fact that he farms 500 acres of cassava. He's maintained that. He was hoping to upscale to about 700. This has been about a year plus. We've been talking about it. He's not been able to do it on the back of some of these challenges. 400 acres of maize and then some cowpea as well. What do you farm, Morrison? And how difficult is it for you as a farmer to secure something like a loan to actually boost production?
I sympathize with my very good brother, Evans. Let me be quick to add that what is surviving this country is our traditional crops, the roots and tubers. In most cases, you do not need fertilizer or any form of chemical to produce some of these roots and tubers. The plantains, the cassavas, the potatoes, the traditional potatoes, the yams, and what have you. So these are the areas that survive in this country. So a lot more Ghanaians are also eating more of the traditional. On my side, I do maize, rice, cashew, and honey. Now,
what expanse of land do you operate on? Give us an idea.
So currently, I'm doing
1,200 acres
for maize. I'm doing just slightly above 210 acres for rice. I have about 200 cashew, acreage of cashew, and I outsource gallons of honey across the country, and I package the cashew and also the honey. I used to package the rice, but the cost of the value chain activities is so deep that I have to outsource the paddy to a factory. I mean, sell off the paddy to a factory to do the packaging, the processing, and the packaging itself. So, so it makes it very difficult to be competitive on the market, especially those who are doing quite large production in terms of the rice. Now, if you look at the past 2 years, the rate at which the forex has been having challenges and the cost of imported inputs, the hybrid seeds, the prices have jumped more than 36 to 40%. So if you want to really be in the position to increase your production, then the market must adequately also respond to that. You know, if you understand the value chain properly, you realize that when the poultry sector is doing well, or the grains and cereal sectors are doing well, they have positive impact on the poultry sector, on the piggery sector, and also on the aquaculture fishery sector. So when the grains and cereals are having challenges, then of course you expect also the poultry sector, aquaculture, fisheries and piggery to also have challenges because they go together. If you take the feed component of poultry, 60% or to 70% of the feed additives or the composition is maize. Then you have soya. Then you have fish meal. Then you have soya cake. Then you now go for the other additives of
Hello, Anthony.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. So now you can have the other additives of lysine, methionine, potassiums, other vitamins, the other vaccines. So we import almost 99% of all the additives. Okay, we do not produce any of them here in Ghana. From the medication, which we call the vaccines, the other additives are all imported. So when the forest is misbehaving, you have the farmers facing the brunt of the cost of the forest. And the cost of production also has become so high because don't forget, government has increased electricity, government has increased water, so it comes at a cost of operating. And fuel, diesel, in cases where electricity is unavailable, the cost of fuel is so high. So the cost of production on the farmer in terms of poultry has astronomically gone up. When we say farmers are having challenges, people think that we are cooking the figures, but the figures are real. They take transport. They know how much their transportation bill have jumped from the past 2 years to now. And it keeps having effect. As for the farmer, every 4 other weeks, the variations in terms of cost of input keeps changing. Right. Because the farm also keeps changing. People have to import, convert the money back into dollars to go and bring the same quantity or less. So we are actually having problems in the industry. And you expect to have a listening minister, you expect to have a listening president, you expect to have a listening government to actually address. Look at the agriculture census and look at the number of people who are directly involved in agriculture, both directly and indirectly. That is well over 11 million, counting to 14 million. That is almost half of Ghana's population. In fact, over 70% of the rural economy is agriculture. So we need to begin to address our problem. No other country can feed us. We should be able to increase public funding for agriculture.
Right.
Look at the current food inflation. Okay. We are doing 49 to 51%. This is the highest in Africa. Okay. If you look at the food price cost build-up, Benjamin, if government could just come in and take some interventions, for instance, the bad roads, the aggregation, now there is another thing that I want to add. How on earth?
So briefly on that, let me bring in the next guest as well. But go ahead.
Yeah. How on earth? Another major factor in the food price cost build-up is foreigners having access directly to farm gates. So they dictate the price of our food. So they are able to purchase at a higher cost. So when you the indigenous, you a Ghanaian, goes to the farmer to purchase, they want you to pay the same price as the Nigerian, as the Indian, as other countries are purchasing. Which I don't understand why we can't have a regulatory system in place to prevent that. No country allows that. Countries where we import poultry, we import maize, we import soya and rice. We do not buy from the farm gate. We buy from their national commodity company. So why can't we do the same?
Okay, so that's an interesting question. Hold for me, because we've heard same in respect of soya, in respect of cowpea, I think at some point, and all of that. Some of them also used for feed, for poultry. But let me also bring into the conversation John Dumelo. He's a farmer as well. John, thank you so much for joining us on this conversation. Mr. Dumelo, can you hear me? You may have to unmute so you can actually hear me.
Yeah, good morning. How are you, Benjamin?
I am very well, and we're grateful that you agreed to speak to us, I admit, on such short notice, to be fair. Just walk us through, for each of those on this conversation, Evans Tremensa, who, by the way, is the Mampong Municipal Best Cassava Farmer. He has 500 acres of cassava. He's going to receive his award today. There is Anthony Morrison, who also has over 1,200 acres, I believe, of maize, 210 of rice. He has cashew, among others. Just walk us through what your acreage is, your farms. I know of ginger, I don't know of all the others. And whether you've been able to maintain, reduce, or upscale on production since the last Farmers' Day when we had a conversation.
Well, good morning to everyone listening. I think for me, the same challenges that all the farmers are sharing is what I'm also about to share. I mean, the prices have gone up astronomically, but I think what drives most of us is passion. What drives most of us is the fact that people have to eat, and the food has to come from somewhere, and the food has to come from a farmer. And we believe in Ghana, and so most of the time our passion drives us. But I think there's a limit to where the passion is going to get to one day. Like Anthony said, the prices are changing every day. Between last year and this year, yes, I've increased my acreage. I've increased the number of things I'm doing in terms of agriculture, but all because I have passion, all because I know that one day it's going to be fine, and all because I know that if we don't take charge as Ghanaians, if we don't take charge of our agricultural industry, things are going to be pretty messed up in the next few years. And so things are bad, but we are still holding on.
In terms of planting for food and jobs, Evans Tremensa, for example, will tell me that even getting extension officers to come to his area to give the necessary assistance, it's only recently that a few things happened. What support systems have you had as a farmer in respect of not just planting for food and jobs, but generally to ensure that you can have some peace, that you can produce, that you can upscale? What have you got in that regard? Fertilizers, do you get any?
Let me tell you the only support system that I've gotten. The only support system I've gotten is prayers. Prayers from from myself, prayers from everybody else. And I haven't had any support. I remember when I used to do a lot of maize, and I still do a lot of maize up north, around the Wale Wale area. And I remember, I think I shared the story once where my farm manager said, he wants to go and apply for this planting for food and jobs, fertilizer, blah, blah. And he was told point blank that, number one, it's not available. Number two, you need certain connections before you get it. And so for me, I've totally forgotten about the planting for food and jobs incentives. If people want their farms to thrive, I think people should just really forget about the planting for food and jobs incentives. Because one, it's going to be a long process to get the fertilizers. Two, even if you get it, you're going to get it in small quantities, which is okay. I mean, because, the fertilizers are probably in limited quantity and everybody has to get it. But I think for most of us, we haven't had any support whatsoever when it comes to planting for food and jobs.
How do you bankroll what you do? Yes, over time, you've built some support systems, but in terms of loans, for example, is it easy to contract a loan? I mean, now if you're contracting a loan, you're looking at a repayment of about an interest rate of about 40%. How easy is it, first of all? Are you on any, what's that terrain like for you as a farmer?
Well, I think a couple of times I've tweeted about, agric loans and stuff. And some financial institutions, do contact me. And I tell them point blank that, look, if you guys are going to ask me for, my grandmother's certificate or my father's something, then forget it. When it comes to agric loans in Ghana, it's almost impossible to get it. One, even if you get it, the interest rates are extremely high. And so for me, I don't depend on loans. I depend on reinvesting whatever I've invested. I depend on other friends who also share the same belief and the same idea as myself, who will come together and say, okay, you know what, next year I want to get into tomato production. Who are those who are interested? Let's bring our pool of funds together and let's invest in it. And then at the end of the day, we share the profit. So I don't do loans when it comes to agric because one is cumbersome, two, the interest rates are high. And it's almost impossible to compete, because and I always keep on saying this, that look, countries that have very low interest rates, these countries are going to bring in their foreigners, their nationals, come to Ghana with very low interest rates with the money they have and get into agric. And, in few years' time, the agric sector in Ghana is going to be dominated by, non-Ghanaians.
Is it not already happening? Farmer Morrison was just talking about the Syrians, the Indians, the Lebanese, the Nigerians, and others who, in fact, can afford it. So they go to the farm gate, which should not be the case, and purchase products at a certain price. And now the farmers also, at the farm gate will want to sell it to you at that price because others are purchasing it at that price, which also hikes food prices up.
Exactly. And the farmer wants to make his money back. The farmer has planted, maybe 3 or 4 months. He's ready to sell his produce. So whoever comes, he will sell it to the person. And of course, it's about the highest bidder. No farmer wants to say, today, I can sell it at 200, but because this is a Friday, I want to sell it at 150. No, they will sell it to make maximum profit. And so if we don't take time, foreigners are going to, invade the farming industry, the agric sector, which has already happened, which is happening, which is fine. It's a level playing field, but we need to own our industry. We need to take charge of it. We need to create millionaires out of agric when it comes to Ghana. We need to. I know people think it's high risk. I know people think it's one of those sectors that, if you go inside, your money goes shit. But the passion has to keep on going. We need to stop importing our onions. We need to stop importing our tomatoes. We need to stop importing, vegetables from neighboring countries during the dry season. We need to. We are capable of doing it. And I really don't know what it is, but I really want to salute, the few farmers who are still in the game. I really want to salute farmers who are still passionate about agric, who are still going on strong despite, the economic challenges. And I think one day we will have a very successful story to tell.
John, just hold for me. We'll be wrapping shortly. I want to give each one of you 2 minutes. I'll start with Evans Tremens. I want to give each one of you 2 minutes to reflect on this last bit, or less if you can. Now, you also look at the import restrictions bill that the Trade and Industry Minister, K.T. Hammond, is putting forward. When I shared my blunt thoughts with you this morning, I gave you the metrics. If you look at even our national demand of rice production, between 2017 and now, we've increased it by just about 350,000 metric tons. And even that's a bit of a fortunate rise. And you look at our demand, it has moved from around 1 million metric tons to 1.55, almost 1.6 million metric tons. We are currently producing around 800,000 metric tons. Then you also look at poultry. You would realize that since 2020, the local demand, what we've been able to produce, 58,000 metric tons, 50,000 metric tons in 2021, 60,000 metric tons in 2022. In the meantime, the consumption, 356,000 metric tons in 2020, 400,000 metric tons in 2021, 460,000 metric tons in 2022. Then, finally, what I'll leave you with, Nigeria, in trying to wean itself of rice, importation, moved from, and get this, 2010, 2.8 million metric tons, to now, 2022, right before this era, 5.35 million metric tons, which means that over 12 years, they've not even been able to double their rice production. We are saying we want to axe out rice, poultry, among other things. What is your take? Do we do this gradually or do we do this abruptly? Evans Remensa, final words.
To do it abruptly, what is going to happen is that you're going to suffocate a lot of people. You will cause national security issues in the country. Demand determines supply. Okay, so once the local demand is going out, it means that we need to have commensurate supply to be able to make it. And here's the case, that we are not able to produce enough to meet our own demand. So therefore, we will resort to importation. And the more we are importing, the more we are making other countries richer. And we are also strengthening our own economy and making ourselves poorer. So I really think that it should be a gradual process, but there should be a firm regulatory environment and policies to be able to make sure that we get to where we are going. We need a national food production strategy. We need infrastructures at the local level, our farm areas. We need very, very strong policy, focus to be able to get our importations reduced and get our production levels increased. Now, if we're able to produce more rice, and also be able to, have a way of increasing the local taste for the rice, because I know Morrison and others are producing rice, but the question to be asking is that why is it that a lot of people are still standing the local rice and going for foreign rice?
Right.
Because number one is price and also taste. But policy can be able to handle that. And I think that we really need to have a very strong leadership to be able to do that.
Okay.
And if we are not able to do that, what we are going to do is that we are going to strengthen our economy, we are going to make other countries more prosperous,
right,
while we only depend on them. And that really is a recipe for disaster in the future for us.
Evans, thank you so much. And once more, congratulations on being the Mampo Municipality Cassava Farmer of the Year. We're proud of you. Thank you for joining the conversation. On now to Anthony Morrison, very briefly, less than 2 minutes, and then I'll conclude with John Dumelo. Anthony Morrison, I beg your pardon. Morrison, are you with us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, your turn now.
Okay, so thank you very much, Benjamin. Ben, our national importation bill for food is well over $10 billion. Look at the budgetary allocation for the agriculture sector, 700 million. That is a drop in the ocean. You can't use such a budget for 2024 to begin to strategize for the agriculture sector. Secondly, Benjamin, we cannot continue to announce, ban national agriculture food strategy without any proper packed financing mechanism, any proper infrastructure. Look, when China and the US and Europe decide that they want to do something, they don't announce it to the world. They achieve it, they start achieving their target, then they come that we are doing this now, and they implement it. We just think of the idea and we rush the media to announce. Of what use when you don't have the funds to back it? So it's very critical we should begin to deepen the discussion from where we are. And Ben, look at the paragraph 324 of the budget. Ghana imported well over $300 million of pepper in this country, where we are actually looking for jobs for our teeming youth, where there are a lot of youth unemployed, where the likes of John have employed several youth on his farm and in the value chain, processing, adding value in the market. And we are still importing $300 million plus of pepper. The whole of the sub-region is only Nigeria that is doing inflation over 25%. Ghana is doing almost 51%. You see, the case of Nigeria in terms of achieving or increasing their rice bill.
This has to be a final point, Morrison. Please go ahead.
We produce quite a lot of rice in this country. But look at the post-harvest losses. Government has failed over the years to provide the right intervention for farmers to harvest their rice on time, for farmers to have a better storage facilities for their rice. So they are forced to even sell their paddies to Nigeria. Okay? So the cost of post-harvest losses on Ghana's grains and cereal industry is well over $1.7 billion annually. And we can't continue to do that.
Okay.
We need to be serious with these food systems and how we can continue to secure Ghana's food security going forward.
Anthony Morrison, that is a brilliant take you just put forward. We're grateful that you took the time to join the conversation. Farmer Dumelo, John Dumelo, you have the final bite on this. What do you make of this import situation, the restrictions, and what can we do better as a country?
I think, number one, it's a excuse my French, but it's a very bogus bill that is being introduced.
Why?
Because it's just meant to empower just a few people. It's just meant to enrich a few people. It's just meant to, create millionaires out of those who are important. Look, and I share the same sentiments with, Anthony and my good friend, the best farmer in...
Evans Tremensa.
Yes. We need backward integration. What it means is, one, let's take the items one by one. Let's take rice. Let's take poultry. Let's take whatever. Fine, let's take rice. Let's not quickly announce that, we are doing import restriction bill, blah, blah, blah. We're just going to give a few licenses to people. No. Let's look at the cost of producing 1 kilo of rice as compared to the cost of producing, compared to importing 1 kilo of rice. Let's sit down. Let's get all the stakeholders. Let's get the farmers. Let's get the agronomists. Let's get the weather guys. Let's get the food science guys. Let's sit everybody down and say, you know what? Can you produce rice at this price per kilo? Yes, we can, no problem. Then you start production. Once you flood the market with Ghana rice, and besides, it's not local rice. Now, once you start flooding the market with Ghana rice at a reduced cost, people would automatically start going for it. Same taste as the imported one, same taste as everything. People would automatically start going for it. And when they start going for it, you realize that importation will reduce. Now, sitting somewhere and say you're going to pass a bill and say that, we are going to, restrict the importation. I mean, it's going to go back to the 70s Kalabule ways where, prices are going to go up, people are going to hoard items, and it's going to just enrich a lot of people and empower a lot of people, which, of course, a lot of farmers will be taken out of business. Go to Doma, for instance, a couple of weeks ago, and most of the port farmers are shutting down. Why are they shutting down? They are shutting down because there's no help coming from anywhere. Now imagine someone with a 500,000 capacity, poultry facility right now just doing 100,000 facility. That's wrong. Encourage him to increase it from 500,000 to 2 million. Encourage the others to also upscale their own. Prices will drop. They flood their market with the poultry products, and you realize that importation will reduce. And so I think this bill is just a bogus one to begin with, and it's not going to work at all.
Thank you, John Dumelo, for joining the conversation. Once more, we greatly appreciate it joining us on such short notice. And so those who joined the conversation, Anthony Morrison, CEO, Chamber of Agribusiness, Evans Tremensa, Executive Director, AgriWealth Ghana. He's the Mampo Municipal Best Cassava Farmer. And then Bismarck Norte, John Dumelo joining the conversation as well. Bismarck couldn't actually join the conversation. Well, so there you have it. On Farmers' Day, these are the lamentations of farmers. And if we take them in stock, we'll be able to do better as a country in terms of arriving at food sufficiency, at human security. But moving on from here, even as we gear up to take a break, when we return, two major matters we're going to be looking at. We'll take you to the election headquarters as we contemplate Saturday's event for some constituencies, orphan constituencies within the New Patriotic Party, choosing who will lead them into election 2024. And also coming up, as the Yuletide is upon us, we'll be contemplating how you can stay fit, not just in terms of exercise, but nutritionally. We have a nutritionist on board. All of that lined up on the AM show. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's Farmers' Day. We're talking about consuming what we produce as well. But even in doing so, what are the things to take stock of? You would notice that in recent times, there's been a big conversation about kidney disease and about even contracting, how we end up there, getting kidney disease, then what we have to do at the hospital when it gets to those crucial stages where you need dialysis and all of that. You don't want to get to that point. And that's why today we've brought a nutritionist into the studio, because guess what? We know we're going to be having a party after party during the season. But don't party to death. You want to party and stay alive. That's why we're hosting nutritionist Fauzia Abdul Rahman Beidu, a registered nutritionist. Let me just add that, joining the conversation. Thank you, Fauzia, for coming into our studio.
I'm honored to be here.
All right. So let's talk. I know we'll have a general conversation about our staples and, for example, the person eating fufu every day or banku every day, what the consequences could be. But let's start from this end of some of the things we are consuming and how they impact our kidneys.
So first of all, good morning to our cherished viewers and happy Farmers' Day to all the hardworking farmers out there. I mean, without them, we would have been hungry and died out of hunger. So happy Farmers' Day to all farmers. Yes, so as important, they say that we eat to live, but we don't live to eat. It carries a lot of meaning and weight in the sense that whatever you are feeding your body in is what will be churned out. So if you are eating healthy, it means the output of it is that you are going to live healthy and then you'll be devoid of sickness. But if you're also feeding your body the wrong foods, that means you are facing the consequence of falling sick, and that would also not make you so productive, especially if you have an employer you are working with. It's going to reduce your working hours and productivity will also be affected. So yes, it's important we know what we are eating, but making the right choices when it comes to the sort of foods we eat. And the foods we eat in our country here, luckily for us, are very healthy, but we have to be mindful of the portions in which we eat them, and it should be a varied diet. So for example, like you said, you shouldn't be eating fufu every day. I know my Kumasi people may come after me, but I mean, fufu is good, it's healthy, but you shouldn't be eating fufu every day. The same also goes for eating banku or eating kenke every day. So the meal should be varied. And you have to also watch the portions or in terms of the quantity you are consuming.
You know, you take me way back to school where they would teach you about, is it the 6 food groups?
Yeah, the 6 food groups.
Fats and
all
oils,
the nutrients,
minerals, protein, carbohydrates, vitamins. All
so
of
that's
those
what we
in there.
call the 4-star diet. So whatever food that you eat within the day, your breakfast, your lunch, your supper, as well as your in-between or what we call the snacks, should satisfy that protocol. So basically it still comes back to eating or making sure that the food you are eating is balanced, because when it's balanced, then you get to have all those nutrients in the food you are eating.
I'm going to put you on the spot. I know this wasn't planned, but let's say this morning, you know, it's a holiday. People will tell you a holiday isn't a holiday without some wache crying somewhere or some jollof rice or some wile and stuff. On a typical day like this, I mean, just use it as an ordinary day. What would you propose as a meal plan for someone for a day like this in balancing the equation? Tell us.
Yeah, so we have those who would want to eat the heavy, going after the heavy food, and we have those who would want to do something light for breakfast. In both situations, they are right. It's up to you, but you also have to consider your activity level. Are you someone who is sitting behind your desk, or are you someone who is into a labor-intensive job like a mason? So for that, in that case, you could go for your kenke or your wache or your gobe. It's fine. But if you are someone who sits behind your computer or your desk, you barely move, then you can do something light for breakfast. So you can do the oats or the wheat. Make sure that the food you are eating has the fiber and it's intact. So for example, one food I enjoy myself, I do take, but I find problem with is the Hausa cocoa. Okay. So Hausa cocoa in itself is not bad, but because of how we prepare the Hausa cocoa makes it bad, because the fiber, after they've milled the millet, they decant it, so they take out the chaff of the fiber and feed that to the animals, so the sheep and the goats. So they are actually eating
the good part.
The good part, and we are just taking the refined part of it, which is the carbohydrate. Right. So that is why when you are taking Hausa cocoa, you need to make sure that you pair it with a protein. It has to be balanced. So the combination, when you are taking Hausa cocoa, you can take it with the kose, or you call the akara, and add a bit of roasted peanuts or granuts. That makes it balanced. Instead of going for Hausa cocoa with togbe or beef loaf or sugar bread,
which is a lot more fat,
still refined carbohydrates. Yeah. So it's not balanced.
And there's also this thing about the white bread and the brown bread.
Yes.
What really is it? Even as we talk about white rice and brown rice.
Yeah.
Now we're talking of cutting down, eating local rice and all of that. What
Yeah.
are the dynamics?
So when it comes to the white rice and then the polished rice, you know, with the polished rice, a typical rice grain has 3 parts. So you have the endosperm, the germ, and then the bran. When it comes to the brown rice, all parts of the rice is intact.
Okay.
Because it's not been processed or polished. But when you take the polished rice, they've taken the bran out. And that's the part that is loaded in the fiber and then the vitamins. So what you are seeing, that's the whitish part of the rice. That's just loaded in carbohydrates. So if you are going to eat the polished rice, I wouldn't encourage that. But I mean, whatever we eat, we are accustomed to the thunk or the taste buds. So if you are not someone who is used to eating the brown rice, you can gradually transition into eating the brown rice. So what I always tell my clients is that there needs to be a compromise. So you mix some of the polished rice with wheat.
Oh, right.
So that gradually you acquire the taste and then transition into eating the brown rice.
You just remind me, because I've actually been to places, I think even a restaurant, where they've done that before. So the white rice mixed with wheat.
Yes.
And they had a name for it.
Yeah, because usually the brown rice is not as tastier as the polished rice. So you have to, you know, get yourself acquired to the taste. So you can mix a little bit of the white rice and a bit of the wheat and cook it, so that gradually you transition into the brown rice. Because if you tell the client or the patient to start eating the brown rice, I tell you, they wouldn't do it. They will tell you in your face that, okay, they would follow. But when they go to their homes, they wouldn't do it.
And you know, I've seen this saying that it takes time to acquire a habit. It takes time to also kick the habit.
Yes.
So either way, you will need time to be able to acquire the new taste. There's also brown bread versus white bread, brown sugar versus white sugar. I don't know whether you want to get into that. And then let's also focus on our kidneys and the very things we are consuming, whether imported or locally produced, that are damaging our kidneys.
Yeah. So I know people have heard about kidney disease and it's been on the rise, but they don't know the functions that the kidneys play in the body or what the kidneys are. So the kidneys are just like any other organs we have in the body, like the heart, the liver, and the stomach. What they do is that each individual is born with 2 kidneys, one located on the right and one located on the left. So they are 2 bean-shaped organs, just measuring about the size of your fist. And they are located just below your rib cage. So your kidneys are located somewhere at the back here. What they do is that they are supposed to filter the blood and excrete the waste and toxins from the body. And each day, the kidneys filter about 1,800 liters of blood. And excrete.
Say that again. 1,000 what?
About 1,800 liters of blood. That's the volume of blood that the kidneys filter.
I mean, I look at the 1.5 liter bottle and you're telling me it does what? 1,500 liters?
It does 1,800 liters.
1,800 liters every day?
Every day. So in the 24 hours, your kidneys is working constantly. And they remove the waste products after they filter the blood in the urine. And it takes just about 5 minutes for all the blood to run through the kidneys. And this happens about 300 times every day.
So that's why when your kidneys are not functioning properly, then dialysis must come in, because then that replaces the normal function.
So what happens is that for most of the times, it doesn't present with symptoms until you've lost about 90% of your kidney function. That's when you begin to see the signs and symptoms that indeed something is wrong.
What are some of the things we do and consume that impact our kidneys?
So there are some causes of kidney disease. I want us to touch on that. We have diabetes, we have hypertension or high blood pressure. If you have a family history of kidney disease, then you stand a risk of having kidney disease. And as at 2020, according to WHO data, Ghana recorded 4,161 deaths as a result of kidney disease.
I see.
And that's very alarming.
So
that's
all
even
of these
for just
are like
2020 data. Yes, so 2021 is not in, 2022 is not in, and the figures are expected to rise each year. So as at 2023, I'm sure it would nearly hit 10,000 people.
But beyond the diabetes and the BP and other maybe hereditary ailments that we may inherit, in terms of our own habits, what are some of the things we're doing that could land us there?
Yes.
Alcohol?
Alcohol
Sugar?
is number one.
What?
I've always preached about this, that there's no benefit you derive from alcohol, except from the fact that it's a way of socializing with our friends and family. But there's no benefit whatsoever that you get from taking alcohol, because each time you take an alcoholic beverage, a cell in your liver dies. And once
Wait, repeat that for the benefit of those who consume. You know, I was hearing something, someone, I will not mention his name, is talking to me now because the person is alarmed. Once we mentioned alcohol, if I know a protest in the booth, I'll not mention the person's name. But
so
repeat that. You say each time you take alcohol.
You take an alcoholic beverage, a cell in your liver dies. And once
a cell in your liver dies.
And the moment that cell is dead, that is it. That's the end.
It dies and that's it.
It dies. It's permanent.
Wait, I thought the liver was supposed to be able to regenerate.
Yeah, but that tells you how harmful alcohol is to your liver.
Whoa.
Yes.
No, I've actually never heard this before. Let's. So the person who is protesting is still protesting in my ear that the body regenerates, okay? And that is what I mentioned, okay, to Fauzia. But you're saying that when you do this, one cell...
Each time you take an alcoholic beverage, a cell in your liver dies.
And it dies beyond regeneration?
It dies beyond regeneration. And that's one problem we have as a nation that we are not really looking at, because when you look on everywhere, social media, TV stations, you are advertising alcoholic beverages, and if you are less than 18 years, you are not supposed to drink. But that's just on their side of making money. But when it comes to the health aspects, it does a lot of harm to you as well. So I always tell my clients, even putting aside the fact that I'm a Muslim and Muslims are not encouraged or supposed to drink, beyond that, I tell my clients, even if you are Christians, don't take alcohol.
I mean, I am Christian, I don't drink. The worst I would do is some wine at some point. But that is few and far between, because I think even you, the medical people too, would say that at some point you must have a little bit of alcohol within your system. Sometimes it's...
The negative implications outweigh the positive effects you get from the alcohol.
I mean, I don't drink at all.
Although the red wine is made from grapes and it contains some antioxidants called resveratrol, which is good for the heart. But on the downside,
the cost of it. So you're saying that even, and I restrict myself, even when I'm going to take wine or any product, I look at something below 5%, maximum 5%.
Yes.
You're saying that even when I try that, let's say twice in a year, I'm still doing damage to my liver.
Yes, you're still doing damage to your liver.
Hey, then I know a lot of people who are walking dead though.
Yeah.
They are walking, but they are dead.
They are living dead.
Okay, so let me find out from you. Are there any benefits at all? It's like pepper. Some will say, Charlie, it adds, but nothing else. Are there any benefits at all to taking alcohol? Are there any benefits?
No.
No benefits?
There are no benefits. Apart from the antioxidant that I mentioned contained in the red wine, beyond that, there's no benefit.
There's no benefit to alcohol?
There's no benefit to alcohol.
The association, this one is for you. You know, you yourself, your members know. I'm not saying you too. The registered nutritionist is saying this.
I'm not saying it. It's based on research.
Right.
Yes. So research is backing what I'm saying. That there's no benefit to taking alcohol.
The science backs up what you're saying.
The science backs up what I'm saying.
Chai! I can imagine those who at this point have...
aside from the damage it does to your liver, it puts you at risk of so many cancers. I don't want to even delve into
Please, let's delve into them. Delve into them for the sake of... You could be changing lives here.
Yes.
Apart from the work on your liver, it exposes you to what kinds of cancer?
So you have lung cancer, colorectal cancer, stomach cancer, a whole lot of cancers. Throat cancers and
I'm hearing someone saying, how about the moderate intake? I just said that even I do less than, if it's wine, I don't go above 5%. And she says even that once or twice a year is a problem.
I mean, you're not going to die from not taking alcohol. So
you are not going to die from not taking alcohol.
Yeah, so why would you even want to go near alcohol?
Hey, then wait. So those who are doing, with all respect, the local gin akpeteshi, and some going above 60%, 70%.
That's serious. For that one, when you look at the alcohol percentage, it's far beyond 50, 60, 70%. Those ones are hard liquor.
Hey.
And they are supposed to be diluted. But some way, somehow, some people take it raw like that, in the raw form. They don't dilute it. So you can imagine the damage you are doing, not just to even your liver, but your kidneys as well.
Okay, so there's been a lot of research. I've seen, someone just sent me this as well from the Mayo Clinic, popular on social media. And in terms of the benefits of alcohol, this one says, research has found the risk of diabetes is lower in those who consume alcohol moderately. Several studies have displayed lower risk of dementia or decreased cognitive decline over time with mild to moderate alcohol intake. Is this true? It even says moderate alcohol intake can reduce the risk of developing gallstones. Is this true?
I have no idea about that. It's just like smoking. The damage smoking also does to your kidneys as well. But with alcohol, it says that if you can't avoid it, then you shouldn't go beyond the limit in a day. So for a man, you shouldn't go beyond 2 drinks.
2 drinks
a day.
Where 2 drinks are what? What pint size?
It
Is it a bottle?
on what kind of alcoholic beverage you are having.
Heineken versus Hennessy.
So is it a hard liquor? Is it rum? It depends. Is it beer? It depends on the sizes or the volume you are supposed to consume that.
And maybe the alcoholic content.
Yes. And then for a woman, you shouldn't go beyond a drink. But beyond that, there's no benefit of taking alcohol.
This is interesting. Well, the verdict is out there, and it's a good thing is I don't go near this stuff, so I'll just maintain the status quo. But if you do, just ensure that, I've been a bit jovial about this, but the truth is, if you do, you need to watch your intake, even if you're going to take it at all. I know someone who in recent, and this is me being, I can't mention the person's name, but for a larger chunk of this year, the person has not been so well. It's someone above 50, okay? And this is catching up with him in different, very unpleasant ways. He probably is watching me now. I'm sharing your story to help other people. And the impact, the number of times we've had to go to hospital and others because of, the health implications.
Yeah.
It's not a joke, and it's related to alcohol in a way. So I feel you from where you're coming. What then do we do to protect our kidneys?
Yes, so that's when the diet comes into play. Like I said from the beginning, we are what we eat. In Ghana here, luckily for us, we are blessed with so many staples or food produce or food items. But we need to know how to eat them. So one thing, if you would want to prevent yourself from getting kidney diseases, that you need to limit your intake of sodium, or what we call
salt. Okay.
Yes, and research has proven that globally we consume more salt than is expected of us per the limits. Okay. Yes, so if you see the spoons I'm holding with me, there's a teaspoon.
Right.
Yes, and according to the WHO, each individual is supposed to consume less than a teaspoon. So this spoon.
Less than a teaspoon?
There's less than a teaspoon.
Daily?
Daily, and that's 2,000. This teaspoon of salt is 2,400 milligrams.
Okay.
Of sodium.
I thought we have not got to sugar. This is salt.
Yeah, this is
Please,
salt.
let's raise it
now,
properly so that the camera can
so there's a teaspoon.
pick it up.
You're
1
teaspoon.
Consume, that is 5 milliliters.
There is 5 grams.
5 grams?
Yes. A teaspoon is 5 grams.
Okay, so that is it,
so
right
consume
there.
Less than this. So
every day.
So that means that whatever food you have in the day, your breakfast, so the teaspoon is not teaspoon per meal, teaspoon of salt per meal, but per day.
5 grams,
so
that's it.
So if you put together your breakfast, your lunch, your supper, and if you are the type who has snacks in between, and you are supposed to have snacks, that means your salt consumption should be less than this teaspoon. Naturally, sodium is found in all the foods we eat, but in small amounts.
Small amounts.
But we get majority of the sodium from the table salt and some of the processed foods.
I think I grew up with some very good habits.
I
from
know
home
Ghanaians will not like me for what I'm about to say.
Please say it.
But it's important. I think we need to find a day as Ghanaians to visit some of the hospitals, especially the dialysis unit, to see what is going on there.
When you see for yourself.
You get to appreciate what I'm saying. I'm not saying don't eat these foods, but the salted fishes, so the kobe, the momone, the kako, the tolo beef, and all those things are very high in salt.
Preach.
And Kobe is not Kobe without the salt. So me saying me saying you shouldn't consume more than this teaspoon. Now, if you take one Kobe, a medium-sized Kobe, you know, with the preparation of Kobe, it's soaked in concentrated brine solution. So if you want to calculate what you call the concentration of the salt in just one Kobe, it will be more than this teaspoon, because you can't use just this teaspoon of salt to cure one Kobe.
One Kobe. So it basically means we are, in essence, through our eating habits. So we've not even got to the sugar yet, but salt,
yes,
rice, among other things. We're literally killing ourselves slowly. And alcohol, the one people don't want to hear. Alcohol.
Yes.
Lau?
No. So if you are going to eat it for someone who doesn't have any underlying medical condition, consume it in minimal amounts. But if you are someone who has, say, hypertension or diabetes, you shouldn't even go near them, because that's a lot of salt that is used in preparing it. And then one other thing also is the flavor boosters, the artificial flavor boosters, the monosodium glutamate that we use in cooking. And research also has proven that if you are someone who consumes heavy amounts of these monosodium glutamates, it puts you at risk of getting hypertension. So I know we eat certain foods here in Ghana, you and I know, at night, especially at night. I'm not going to mention names, but we know what I'm referring to. And they add the seasoning to prepare it, try to cut some, vegetables, not enough vegetables, but those ones are not helping me.
Let's quickly do sugar before we wrap. So on the salt bit, one thing I was going to say, a good thing growing up. So when I even cook rice in my boiler, I don't add salt. Fantastic. I cook it without salt. Yes. I try to reduce, unless there are a few things in there that I would use a little water to rinse out, because I want to retain the nutritional value of the rice.
You only add the salt to the food whilst you are preparing it on fire.
Yeah.
So when you are having your meal on the table, you don't have to reach out for the table salt shaker to add the salt. You know, some people, you go to certain chop bars.
You're adding more death. Let's add the death.
And then you just reach out for the salt shaker, try to sprinkle a bit of the salt.
Let's talk sugar before we go. We have about maybe 3 minutes before we go. Let's talk sugar.
Yeah.
And there I admit, as for the salt, I can push it away. Alcohol, push it away. But when it comes to sugar, I'm somewhat guilty. What is the breakdown in terms of what we can do and not do?
As an adult male, you are not supposed to consume beyond 36 grams
36
of sugar.
grams.
And that's about 9 teaspoons.
9 teaspoons of sugar?
9 teaspoons of sugar.
Okay.
So this times 9.
This one?
Times
Is
9.
it this one?
Yes, this times 9.
Oh yes, 36 you said.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe we're not doing so bad.
And then for a woman, it shouldn't be more than 6 teaspoons. But that's just added sugars.
Okay.
We don't take the sugar, or we don't get sugar not just from taking the typical sugar that we eat, but the various foods that, especially the processed foods that we eat, contain some amount of sugar. So, for example,
even the alcohol at some point, right?
Yes, because that's carbohydrate. When you take certain products like your chocolate, for example, the milk chocolate, you see as part of the nutrition facts label. So as Ghanaians, I think it's high time we learn to read the nutrition facts label. They are there to guide you so that you make informed, healthy choices when it comes to buying food, because for some people, if I know that I want chocolate and I go, for example, to the supermarket to get chocolate, the first chocolate I see on the shelf is what I would reach out for without reading the nutrition facts label. So any food item you see with the sugar listed as the second or third ingredient, that should automatically prompt you that
it's really high. We really have to go. I want us to do this and be out of here in just about a minute. A lot of you are sending messages saluting us for this show today. Thank you very much. Final words before you go in not more than 30 seconds. There's also, add to your 30 seconds, this bit. It says, how about the energy drinks? Any effects on the kidneys?
Yes.
That's it, 30 seconds. And
it has so many effects on the kidneys. I think quite recently I had an interview on energy drinks. And these energy drinks, aside from the fact that they are very high in sugar, they also contain certain compounds that are not too healthy for you. And you find some of, for example, the maids and the drivers early in the morning reaching out for these energy drinks, taking it throughout the day, trying to give them some sort of form of, boost or mental clarity so that they go about their daily activities. But beyond that, there's a lot of dangers associated with taking.
Fawzia, I think we'll have to bring you back at some point, but we're grateful that you've taken the time to join us this morning. It's Farmers' Day, it's our day, we celebrate the farmers, but we're also looking at what we put into our bodies, what you ingest. And you just have to watch it before it becomes a problem for you and for your health. Ghana needs you alive. We'd like to salute you, Fawzia Abdulrahman Beidu, a registered nutritionist, for actually coming through with this. We're very grateful for your time. I see you, my big boss, Samson Lade Anyenene. I see you this morning, and you say, great show to start off Christmas. Thank you so much, sir. And that's how we cap off the AM show this morning. But stay, of course, since today is Friday, let me remind you, tomorrow from 9 a.m. we have that bit, News File with Samson Lade Anyenene. Joy News Desk is up next. Enjoy.